She was having dinner by herself when a stranger leaned in and whispered 4 words that changed her life forever. Hello, viewer. Thanks for joining us. Leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments along with the city you're watching from. Now let's continue with the story. The soft jazz drifted through Corner Table Bistro as Karen Wilson turned another page of her book, savoring both the chicken marsala and this perfect moment. Tuesday evening in downtown Seattle, 7:45, celebrating her promotion to head children's librarian at Seattle Central Library, and she'd chosen to mark it exactly how she wanted. Alone, peaceful, with a good book and better food. She tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear, smiling at the passage she'd just read. Tomorrow, she'd start reading this same story to the kids during afternoon story time. The thought filled her with the kind of joy that made the 3 years of working toward this position worth every late night, every difficult patron, every budget meeting that ran past dinner time. The restaurant hummed with quiet conversation around her. A couple at the corner table sharing dessert, their fingers intertwined, 2 businessmen discussing quarterly reports over wine, the familiar comfort of people living their lives, pursuing their dreams, building their futures one ordinary Tuesday at a time. Karen took another bite of her dinner and returned to her book, completely absorbed in the world of talking animals and childhood adventures. She'd learned long ago that dining alone didn't mean being lonely. Sometimes it meant choosing exactly the company you wanted, which tonight happened to be a clever children's story and her own satisfied thoughts about the career milestone she'd just achieved. She was so engrossed in reading that she didn't notice the man approaching until his shadow fell across her table. "Hey there, beautiful. Mind if I join you?" Karen's head snapped up. A man in an expensive suit stood beside her table, swaying slightly, his breath carrying the unmistakable scent of whiskey and poor decisions. The restaurant wasn't crowded, plenty of empty tables scattered around the warm space, but he'd chosen to approach the one woman dining alone. "Actually, I do mind." Karen kept her voice polite but firm, the same tone she used with disruptive patrons at the library. "I'm enjoying a quiet dinner. Come on, don't be like that." The man's smile didn't reach his bloodshot eyes, and his words slurred just enough to confirm her suspicions about his sobriety. "I just closed a huge deal. Biggest sale of my career. We should celebrate together. Congratulations on your success." Karen marked her page and set the book down carefully, her movements deliberate and calm, despite her growing unease. "I'm celebrating my own achievement tonight. Thank you. I'd appreciate it if you'd return to your table." The businessman laughed, a sound that made her skin crawl and reminded her of every uncomfortable encounter she'd had with men who thought persistence was romantic. He stepped closer, effectively blocking her path to the exit, his cologne mixing unpleasantly with the alcohol on his breath. "Playing hard to get, huh? I like that in a woman. Shows character." He leaned against her table, his presence invasive and wrong. "Come on, sweetheart. One drink." "What's the harm in that?" Karen's heart began racing. The few other diners seemed absorbed in their own conversations, unaware of her growing discomfort. She glanced toward the hostess stand, but the young woman was busy seating a couple, oblivious to the situation developing just 20 feet away. "Sir, I've asked you politely to leave me alone." Karen's voice carried the authority she'd developed from years of managing difficult situations at the library. "Please respect that. And I'm asking you politely to have a drink with me." The man's voice carried an edge now, his false charm evaporating like steam. "Don't be rude. I'm being nice here." Karen felt her pulse spike. She'd been in situations like this before, knew the delicate balance between firmness and escalation, but something about this man's persistence felt different, dangerous. Before she could formulate her next response, a calm voice spoke from directly behind the intruder. "Excuse me, sir. I think you're making my girlfriend uncomfortable." The businessman spun around, nearly losing his balance. A tall man with dark hair and the kind of steady presence that commanded immediate attention stood there, hands relaxed at his sides but somehow conveying absolute authority. Everything about him radiated competence and quiet strength. "Your girlfriend?" The drunk man's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "She didn't mention any boyfriend." "Well, she shouldn't have to." The stranger's voice remained perfectly calm, but something in his tone made the businessman take an involuntary step back. "I'm Jack Davis, Seattle Fire Department, Station 2, and I think it's time you returned to your table. Look, buddy, I was here first." "No, you weren't." Jack's voice never rose, but the authority in it was unmistakable. "I watched you leave your seat at the bar to come bother this lady. She's told you she's not interested. Time to move along." The businessman looked between Jack and Karen, his alcohol-fogged brain apparently processing the fact that he was now facing someone much larger, much more sober, and radiating the kind of quiet confidence that suggested arguing would be a very poor choice. "Whatever, man. She's not even that pretty." The businessman stumbled back toward the bar, muttering complaints under his breath. Jack watched him go with professional attention, making sure the man actually returned to his seat and stayed there. Only when he was satisfied that the threat had passed did he turn back to Karen. "I'm sorry about that. May I sit down for a moment? I want to make sure you're okay before I leave." Karen looked up to thank him, and the words died in her throat. Something about those eyes, storm grey, kind, familiar in a way that made no logical sense, made her heart skip in a way that had nothing to do with the previous scare. Those eyes," Karen whispered, her book sliding forgotten across the table. "I know you." Jack blinked, studying her face with the same confused recognition she felt. The gentle curve of her cheek, the way her dark hair fell across her shoulder, something about the intelligent warmth in her brown eyes. "You do seem familiar." Jack pulled out the chair across from her, moving with careful precision, like someone accustomed to emergency situations. "But I think I'd remember meeting someone like you. Someone like me." Karen's eyebrows rose slightly, her fear completely replaced by curiosity and something deeper she couldn't name. Jack smiled, and the expression transformed his serious features completely. "Someone who says thank you with her eyes before she even speaks. Someone who reads at dinner instead of staring at her phone. Someone who celebrates good news with quiet dignity instead of making a show of it. How do you know I'm celebrating?" Karen found herself leaning forward, drawn in by his observant nature. "The way you were smiling at your book," Jack signaled the waitress for coffee. "The way you're dressed just a little nicer than usual. I'm guessing by the library bookmark that you work with books, and that careful way you marked your page suggests this one's special. New job, maybe? Promotion? Head children's librarian at Seattle Central Library?" Karen's smile was genuine now, bright with pride. "I start Monday. That's incredible. Congratulations." Jack's admiration was genuine. "How long have you been working toward that?" 3 years. Ever since I moved here from Oregon." Karen studied his face, noting the slight scar above his left eyebrow, the calloused hands that spoke of hard physical work. "Though I have to say, most firefighters don't moonlight as restaurant security. Just doing my job." Jack's response came automatically. Then he caught himself with a rueful smile. "Actually, that's not true. I was off duty, grabbing dinner after my shift. But when I see someone being harassed, you step in." Karen studied his face, seeing the integrity written in every line. "It's instinctive for you, isn't it? Protecting people." Something like that. Jack accepted his coffee with a nod of thanks to the waitress. "My dad always said that being off duty just means you're not getting paid to do the right thing, but you still have to do it. Your father was a firefighter too, police officer, 30 years with Seattle PD before he retired." Jack stirred cream into his coffee thoughtfully. He used to say that some people are called to serve, and if you ignore that calling, you'll never be happy doing anything else. And you, Karen found herself genuinely curious about this man who'd appeared like an answer to a prayer she hadn't known she was praying. "Were you called to serve?" "I thought so." Jack's expression grew thoughtful. "I became a firefighter because I wanted to help people, make a difference. But somewhere along the way, well, let's just say it's easy to lose sight of why you started when the job becomes routine. What changed?" Jack looked at her intently, as if trying to solve a puzzle. "That's what I'm curious about. When you looked at me just now, you said you knew me. What did you mean?" Karen shook her head slowly, still puzzled by the strange certainty she'd felt. "I honestly don't know. It was just those eyes. They seemed so familiar, like I'd seen them before in some important moment. Have you ever had that feeling, like you've met someone before, but you can't place where or when?" "Actually, yes." Jack leaned forward, his coffee forgotten. "Looking at you right now, I keep thinking about, this might sound strange, but Pine Street. Does that mean anything to you?" Pine Street. Karen's breath caught, her hand flying to her throat. "The accident. You were there." Jack's voice was barely a whisper. 2 years ago, the 3-car collision. There was a little girl trapped in the back seat. Lily. Karen's voice cracked with emotion. Her name was Lily Martinez. She had a stuffed elephant, grey with pink ears. She called it Rosita. The restaurant noise faded completely as Jack stared at her in amazement. "You remember her name? You remember her elephant?" "Of course I remember." Karen's eyes filled with tears. "I was there with the mobile library unit, doing reading visits at the children's hospital. We heard the crash and rushed outside to help. That poor baby was so scared, crying for her abuelo, and he didn't make it." Jack's voice was heavy with old sadness. "Mr. Martinez was in the 3rd car, massive internal injuries. By the time we got him out into the hospital, I didn't know that until later." Karen wiped her eyes with her napkin. "All I knew was that this terrified little girl was trapped and calling for her grandfather, and I couldn't get the door open to reach her properly. You reached through the window." Jack's voice was filled with wonder. "I was working on cutting through the driver's side door, and I looked up and saw you there, your whole upper body squeezed through that narrow space, holding her hand. She was so scared." Karen's voice was barely audible. "She kept asking for her abuelo in Spanish, and I didn't know enough to answer her properly, so I just sang, 'You are my sunshine.'" Jack's eyes never left her face. "You sang, 'You are my sunshine,' and she stopped crying. Your voice was the only thing keeping her calm while I worked. You remember that?" Karen's voice was full of wonder. There were so many people there, paramedics, police, other firefighters. "I remember everything about that day." Jack reached across the table, his fingers stopping just short of touching hers. "I remember thinking that whoever you were, you had the most beautiful voice I'd ever heard. When I looked up from my work and saw you there, half hanging through that car window, singing to a scared little girl, I remember thinking she was going to be okay because you were there." Karen stared at their almost touching hands, her heart racing for an entirely different reason now. "That's impossible." The scene was chaos. There were sirens, people shouting instructions, the sound of metal being cut. "Not for me." Jack's eyes never left her face. "I've been a firefighter for 6 years. I've responded to dozens of accidents, hundreds of emergency calls, but I never forgot the woman in the yellow library volunteer shirt who sang away a little girl's fear and made everything better. You kept her drawing." The words tumbled out before Karen could stop them, spoken with sudden, inexplicable certainty. Jack's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "How did you—" "Because I kept mine too." Karen's voice was barely audible. While she was recovering, she drew pictures for everyone who helped her. "Mine's been on my refrigerator for 2 years. Mine's in my locker at the station." Jack shook his head slowly, as if trying to process the impossible coincidence. "She drew me in my firefighter gear, holding my axe. little stick figure, but she got the helmet right. She drew me reading to her in the hospital bed. Karen's smile was soft with memory. I'm holding a book, and there are stars around us because she said stories were magic. Jack was quiet for a long moment, studying her face as if memorizing every detail. What are the odds of this happening, of us meeting like this, tonight, in this restaurant? I don't believe in odds anymore. Karen's voice carried quiet conviction. I believe in guardian angels. Guardian angels. Jack repeated the words like a prayer, like something he'd been waiting to hear his whole life. That's exactly what she called us. What do you mean? When I visited her in the hospital. Jack's voice grew soft with memory. The department has a program where we visit kids who've been in accidents. She asked me if guardian angels were real. I told her yes, because I'd met one that day. A lady with a yellow volunteer shirt and the most beautiful voice in the world. Karen felt her breath catch in her throat. She asked me the same question. I told her I believed in guardian angels because I'd watched one save her family that day. They sat in stunned silence, the weight of the connection settling around them like destiny made manifest. The restaurant continued its evening rhythm around them, but they might as well have been alone in the universe. Jack. Karen's voice was shaky. What does this mean? I don't know. Jack's honesty was refreshing in its simplicity. But I know that I've thought about you every day for 2 years. Every time I respond to a call, I wonder if you'll be there. Every time I see someone helping a stranger, I wonder if they have a voice like yours. Every time I read to children at the hospital, I think about you. Karen's confession came quietly. I wonder if you remember that day the way I do. I wonder if you ever think about the little girl we saved together. Jack's voice carried wonder. We were a team that day, weren't we? You and me, working together to keep her safe. You did the hard part. Karen's protest was immediate. You're the one with the training, the equipment. You just gave her the one thing I couldn't. Jack's voice was serious now. I could cut through metal, stabilize injuries, follow protocols. But I couldn't sing away her fear. I couldn't make her feel loved in the middle of the worst moment of her young life. Karen felt tears streaming down her cheeks. She didn't care that they were in a public restaurant, didn't care that the other diners might notice. This moment felt too important for self-consciousness. Karen started, then stopped, shaking her head. Too much like a fairy tale? Jack suggested gently. Exactly. Karen's laugh was shaky, but genuine. Things like this don't happen in real life. People don't just recognize each other's souls across a crowded restaurant 2 years later. Maybe they do. Jack's voice was serious now, thoughtful. Maybe we just don't pay attention most of the time. Maybe we're all so busy looking at our phones and rushing through our lives that we miss the magic happening right in front of us. You think this is magic? I think... Jack paused, choosing his words carefully. I think that little girl changed both our lives that day. I think she made us into the people we needed to be to find each other tonight. How do you mean? You said you moved here from Oregon 3 years ago. What made you choose Seattle? Karen blinked, surprised by the question. The library system here is incredible for children's programming. The opportunities for community outreach, the mobile library program, the program that had you at the hospital that day. Karen's eyes widened as understanding dawned. Oh my gosh. If I hadn't moved here, if I hadn't joined that program, and I transferred to Station 2 18 months ago, Jack's voice carried the same dawning amazement. I was at Station 7 before that. Different district, different response area. You wouldn't have been at that accident. We wouldn't have met that day. Jack reached across and finally took her hand, his calloused fingers warm against her skin, and if we hadn't met that day, we wouldn't have recognized each other tonight. Karen stared down at their joined hands, marveling at how perfectly they fit together. So what I'm saying is that maybe Guardian angels don't just protect other people. Jack's thumb traced gentle circles on the back of her hand. Maybe sometimes they're protecting each other, guiding each other toward exactly where they need to be. Karen Wilson looked up from their joined hands to meet Jack Davis's storm-grey eyes and felt her world shift into perfect focus for the first time in 2 years. The soft jazz continued playing, the other diners continued their conversations, the Seattle evening continued its gentle rhythm outside the windows, but everything felt different now. Everything felt possible. "You really believe that?" Karen's voice was soft, vulnerable. "That this was meant to happen. I believe that I've been looking for you without knowing it." Jack's voice carried quiet conviction. "I believe that every call I've responded to, every person I've helped, has been practice for something bigger. Something that started the day I heard you sing to a scared little girl. She was so brave." Karen's eyes grew distant with memory, even terrified, even hurt. She was worried about everyone else. She kept asking if the other drivers were okay, if her abuelo was safe. She still is. Jack's smile was gentle. "Brave. I mean, every time I visit, she's encouraging other kids, sharing her toys, making sure everyone feels included." "You visit her." Karen's statement carried sudden realization. "Regularly, every month." Jack nodded. "Started as part of the community outreach program, but, well, she became special to me. Like a little sister I never had." "What day do you visit?" "Third Thursday, usually around 4:30. Jack tilted his head curiously. "Why?" Karen's eyes widened in amazement. "I visit the first Thursday of every month at 2 o'clock. Jack stared at her in disbelief. "We've been missing each other by 2 weeks for 2 years. "Oh my gosh," Karen's laugh was incredulous. "All this time, you've been there, playing games with her, reading her stories about firefighters. And you've been there, bringing her books, doing that voice you probably do when you read to children." Jack shook his head in wonder. "She talks about you, you know. She talks about you too." Karen's voice was soft with affection. "She calls you Captain Jack, even though I'm sure that's not your rank. It's not." Jack laughed, the sound rich and warm. "I'm just a regular firefighter." "But I never corrected her because she says it with such pride, like I'm some kind of hero from her storybooks." "You are a hero from her storybooks." Karen's voice grew serious, passionate. "Do you have any idea what you meant to her that day? What you still mean to her? She doesn't just see you as the firefighter who saved her. She sees you as proof that there are still people in the world who risk everything to protect strangers, just doing my job." The response was automatic, but Karen shook her head firmly. "No." Karen's voice carried the gentle firmness of someone used to correcting important misconceptions. "What you did that day went way beyond your job description. You could have extracted her and moved on to the next crisis. Emergency responders are trained to stay detached, to save who you can and move forward. But you made it personal." "I don't understand." "You talked to her while you worked." Karen's voice was full of remembered admiration. "You promised her everything would be okay, and then you made sure it was true. You visited her in the hospital. You brought her a new helmet to replace the toy one that was lost in the accident." Jack's surprise was genuine. "How could you possibly know about the helmet?" "Because she shows it to everyone." Karen's smile was radiant. "It sits on her nightstand at home, and she tells anyone who'll listen about the real firefighter who gave it to her. She says it's proof that heroes are real." "You sound like you know something about going beyond the job requirements yourself." "What do you mean?" "You didn't have to stay with her after the paramedics arrived." Jack's voice was gentle, but probing. "You could have gone back to your library duties." "But you rode in the ambulance, didn't you? You held her hand during the x-rays." Karen's cheeks colored slightly. "Someone had to. Her mother was stuck in traffic across town. Her grandfather was, and she was all alone in that big hospital. She was 6 years old and terrified. So you stayed." Jack's voice carried deep admiration. "For how long?" until her mama arrived. Karen's voice was quiet. About 4 hours. I called into work, explained the situation. My supervisor was incredibly understanding. 4 hours. Jack shook his head in amazement. You stayed with a stranger's child for 4 hours. She wasn't a stranger by then. Karen's protest was immediate. She was Lily. She was scared and hurt, and needed someone to tell her stories and help her not think about the pain. What stories did you tell her? Everything I could remember. Karen's eyes lit up with the memory. Good night, Moon, where the wild things are, the very hungry caterpillar. But she kept asking for the one about the guardian angels. I don't know that one because I made it up. Karen's confession came with a shy smile, about guardian angels who watch over children, who appear exactly when they're needed most, who work in pairs to make sure no child is ever alone when they're scared. Jack felt his heart stop. She asked you to make that up. She said she wanted to know if her angels would find each other someday. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. She said, guardian angels shouldn't have to be alone either. The silence that followed was profound, loaded with implications neither of them was quite ready to voice. Jack Davis stared at Karen Wilson across the restaurant table, feeling like every moment of his life had been leading to this conversation. She's been planning this. Jack's voice was full of wonder. For 2 years, she's been planning for us to meet. That's impossible. Karen's protest was weak, unconvincing even to herself. She's 8 years old. 8-year-olds believe in magic. Jack's smile was gentle. Maybe that's exactly what we needed. So what happens now? Karen's question carried nervous anticipation. This is also overwhelming, Jack suggested. Incredible, Karen corrected softly, but also terrifying. I came here tonight to celebrate a promotion, a quiet evening with a book, nothing more complicated than choosing dessert. And now you're sitting across from someone who's been dreaming about you for 2 years without knowing your name. Jack's honesty was breathtaking. Someone who kept a child's drawing because it reminded him that there are still good people in the world worth protecting. You really kept it. Karen's voice was soft with emotion. Right next to my family photo. Jack's voice was equally soft. Sometimes when I'm having a bad day, when I've seen too much or lost someone I couldn't save, I look at that drawing and remember why I chose this work. Because of her, because of both of you. Jack's eyes never left Karen's face, because that day showed me what real heroism looks like. Not just running into burning buildings or cutting people out of car wrecks. Real heroism is staying with a scared child when you could go home. Real heroism is singing away someone's fear when you're probably scared too. I was terrified. Karen's admission came quietly. I'd never seen anything like that accident. All that twisted metal, the blood, the chaos. But she was looking at me with these huge, trusting eyes. And I knew I couldn't let her see how scared I was. That's courage. Jack's voice carried absolute conviction. Being afraid, and staying anyway. Is this crazy? Karen asked suddenly. This feeling like we've been looking for each other without even knowing it. Probably. Jack's smile was rueful but certain. But I've spent 2 years reading fairy tales to sick children and telling them that magic is real. I'd be pretty foolish not to recognize it when it finally shows up in my own life. Karen felt her breath catch at the echo of her own thoughts. You read to the children too. Every visit. Jack's expression was tender. Started because Lily asked me to, but the other kids love it. There's something about hearing stories in a firefighter's voice that makes them feel safe. What do you read? Their requests, mostly. But Lily always asks for the same one. Let me guess. Karen's voice held sudden certainty. The guardian angel story. How did you know? Because that's what she asks me to read, too. Karen's laugh was incredulous. The story I made up for her that day in the hospital, I wrote it down, illustrated it, had it bound into a real book for her. She has a book. Jack's amazement was evident. She's never mentioned. She probably keeps it at home. Karen's voice was thoughtful, something that's special. She'd want to protect it. What happens in the story? Two guardian angels, separated by their duties, who spend years protecting different children in the same city. Karen's voice took on the rhythmic cadence of a practiced storyteller. They don't know about each other, but the children they protect begin to notice similarities in their stories. The angels who visit during the day start hearing about the angel who comes at night, and vice versa. And then one day, when a child is in terrible danger, both angels arrive at the same time. Karen's eyes were bright with unshed tears. They realize they've been working toward the same goal all along, just from different directions. They discover that some jobs are too important for one angel to handle alone. How does it end? They realize that guardian angels work better in pairs. Karen's voice was barely a whisper, that maybe they were always meant to find each other, that maybe protecting others was just practice for protecting each other. Jack reached across the table and covered both her hands with his. That's the most beautiful story I've ever heard. Lily helped me write it. Karen turned her hands palm up, intertwining their fingers. She said guardian angels should have happy endings too. Smart kid, the smartest. Karen's voice was full of affection. She's going to be over the moon when she finds out about this. When we tell her, you mean? Jack's voice carried gentle assumption. Because we are going to tell her, together, together. Karen tested the word, found she liked the taste of it on her tongue. You want to see her together. I want to see her reaction when she realizes her master plan worked. Jack's smile was mischievous. I have a feeling she's going to have very strong opinions about how this should proceed. What kind of opinions? The kind that involve princes and princesses and happily ever after. Karen's cheeks colored slightly. She's been asking me for months if I've met any nice princes lately. And what do you tell her? That I'm still looking. Karen's voice was soft, meaningful. But maybe I'm not looking anymore. Karen stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor with sudden decision. This is happening too fast. I should go. I need to think about this, about what it means. Jack stood too, but didn't try to stop her. He simply waited, patient as he'd been trained to be in crisis situations, giving her the space she needed to make her choice. Karen. His voice was quiet but carried clearly across the small space between them. She paused, one hand on her purse, her heart racing with fear and hope in equal measure. Lily asked me once if guardian angels ever got to meet each other in person. Jack's voice was soft, but every word was clear. I told her I hoped so, because that would mean they were both exactly where they needed to be. What did she say to that? She said she hoped so too, because guardian angels shouldn't have to be alone. Jack's eyes held hers steadily. She said that when guardian angels find each other, they become even better at protecting everyone else, because they're not scared anymore. Scared of what? Of being the only one who understands how important the work is. Jack's voice carried depths of meaning, of caring too much about strangers and not enough about yourself, of giving everything to everyone else and having nothing left for your own heart. Karen Wilson stood frozen by her table, Jack's words echoing in her mind like the chorus of a song she'd been waiting her whole life to hear. The bustle of corner-table bistro continued around them, clinking dishes, quiet conversations, the soft jazz that had been playing when this impossible evening began. But all of it felt distant, muffled, as if she and Jack existed in their own small pocket of destiny. She thought about Lily's story, about guardian angels who worked alone until they found each other. She thought about 2 years of visiting a little girl who'd been dropping hints about fate and partnership and the magic of not being alone. For 2 years, Karen had carried that little girl's drawing on her refrigerator, a reminder of the day everything changed. The day she realized she wanted to spend her life protecting children, nurturing their imaginations, being their safe harbor in a sometimes frightening world. She'd thought about that accident countless times, wondered about the brave firefighter who'd worked so methodically to free Lily while Karen sang away her fears. She'd never imagined she'd find him sitting across from her at a restaurant table, looking at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been afraid to ask. This couldn't be coincidence. This was something bigger, something that made her believe in the kind of magic she read about in children's books but had never dared hope for in her own life. Karen Wilson made her choice. She walked back to the table where Jack Davis still stood waiting, his storm-gray eyes holding patient hope and infinite possibility. I told Lily the exact same thing. Karen's voice was steady now, certain. Guardian angels shouldn't have to be alone. And then she smiled, and Jack Davis felt his world shift into perfect focus for the first time in 2 years. "Would you like to sit back down?" Jack gestured toward their chairs with hands that weren't quite steady. "I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of, well, whatever this is." Karen nodded, settling back into her seat with a grace that made him wonder how he'd managed to miss her for 2 years in a city this size. She folded her hands on the table, and he noticed she wore no rings, just a simple watch with a worn leather band that suggested she valued function over fashion. "I have about 100 questions." Karen's voice carried that same gentle warmth he remembered from the accident scene. "But I suppose the first one is, how have we managed to miss each other all this time? I mean, really miss each other. Seattle's not that big a city. What do you mean exactly?" "I visit Lily." Karen's admission came quietly, as if she were sharing a secret. "Every month at the Children's Hospital, she goes for follow-up appointments with the specialists, and I started volunteering there after the accident, reading to the kids in the pediatric ward. Lily always requests the same book, the Guardian Angel story, that and whatever new books I bring from the library." Karen's smile was soft with memory. "She's become quite the little critic. Very strong opinions about plot structure for an 8-year-old. Jack's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. "You visit her every month? First Thursday of every month? 2 o'clock sharp?" Karen tilted her head curiously. "Don't tell me you—" "Third Thursday, 4:30. Jack set down his cup with a soft clink against the saucer. "I started going as part of the fire department's community outreach program. Kids love meeting firefighters, hearing about the trucks and equipment, but Lily, she always lights up when she sees the uniform." Karen's eyes widened in disbelief. "Oh my gosh, we've been missing each other by exactly 2 weeks for 2 years, 24 visits each." Jack shook his head in amazement. "The universe has a twisted sense of humor, or a perfect sense of timing." Karen's voice carried thoughtful consideration. "Maybe we weren't ready to meet again until now." "What makes you think that?" 2 years ago, I was still figuring out who I wanted to be, fresh out of library school, new to the city, trying to find my place. Karen's honesty was refreshing. "I'm not sure I would have been ready for this. The intensity of recognizing someone at a soul level." Karen's cheeks colored slightly. "The feeling that you've been looking for someone your whole life without knowing it. And now I know who I am. I know what I want to do with my life, how I want to serve my community." Karen's voice grew stronger with conviction. "Now I'm not afraid of connections that feel bigger than coincidence." Jack studied her face, noting the quiet confidence that hadn't been there in that frightened young woman at the accident scene. "You've grown into yourself. Is that what you see?" "I see someone who's found her calling." Jack's voice was warm with admiration. "Someone who knows exactly how much good she can do in the world and isn't afraid to claim that power." "What about you?" Karen asked gently. "Are you ready for this? Whatever this is." 2 years ago, I would have convinced myself this was just coincidence. Jack's admission came slowly, thoughtfully. I would have found logical explanations for every part of tonight. Talked myself out of believing in anything that couldn't be measured or proven. What changed? Lily. Jack's smile was rueful. 24 visits of listening to an 8-year-old talk about magic and guardian angels and the importance of believing in things you can't see. She's worn down my resistance to wonder. She's good at that. Karen laughed softly. Last month she told me that grown-ups forget how to see magic because they're too busy looking for problems. Sounds like something she'd say. Jack's voice carried deep affection. She has this way of cutting straight to the truth of things. She talks about you, you know. Karen's voice was gentle. Not just about the accident day, but about your visits. She calls you Captain Jack, even though I'm not a captain. Jack's laugh was warm. I know. I've never corrected her because she says it with such pride, like I'm some kind of hero from one of your storybooks. You are a hero from her storybooks. Karen's voice grew serious, passionate. Do you realize what you've meant to her these past 2 years? You're not just the firefighter who saved her. You're proof that there are still people in the world who risk everything to protect strangers. I was just doing my job that day. No. Karen's voice carried gentle firmness. What you did went way beyond any job description. You made that rescue personal. You talked to her while you worked, made promises you had to keep, visited her afterward to make sure she was really okay. The department encourages follow-up visits. The department didn't make you bring her a miniature firefighter helmet to replace the toy one lost in the accident. Karen's eyes sparkled with knowing. She still keeps it on her nightstand. Jack's surprise was genuine. How do you know about the helmet? Because she shows it to everyone who visits her room. Karen's voice was full of affection. She tells them all about the real firefighter who gave it to her, how it's proof that heroes are real and that some people become firefighters because they have guardian angel hearts. Guardian angel hearts. Her phrase, not mine. Karen's smile was radiant. She says you can tell the difference between people who fight fires because it's a job and people who fight fires because they can't stand the idea of anyone being scared and alone. And which kind does she think I am? The guardian angel kind. Karen's voice was soft with meaning, the kind who stays up worrying about the people you've saved, who carries their pictures in your locker, who visits scared children on your days off because you need to know they're still okay. Jack felt something tighten in his chest. She told you about the pictures. She told me you showed her photos of other children you've helped. Karen's voice carried deep understanding. She said it made her feel special, but not because she was the only one. Special because she was part of something bigger, part of your guardian angel family. I never thought of it that way. She did. Karen reached across the table, her fingers hovering just above his. She said that's how she knew you were really an angel and not just a firefighter in disguise. Because angels collect the people they've saved and keep them close to their hearts. Jack stared down at Karen's hand, so close to his that he could feel the warmth radiating from her skin. The simple gesture carried more intimacy than anything he'd experienced in years of dating, more connection than months of relationship attempts. She sounds like she's put a lot of thought into this guardian angel theory. Jack's voice was slightly hoarse with emotion. 2 years' worth. Karen's fingers moved the final inch, covering his hand with surprising boldness. She's been building a complete mythology around us, Jack. Around what we represent to her. What do you mean? I mean she's been telling the other children in the ward about her guardian angels. Plural. Karen's voice carried growing amazement at her own realization. The one who comes during the day to read stories and bring books, and the one who comes in the afternoon to talk about bravery and show pictures of fire trucks. She's been talking about both of us, to the other kids, for months, maybe longer. Karen's grip on his hand tightened. She's been creating this narrative where we're partners, where we work together to take care of children even though we don't know each other. Jack struggled to process the implications. That's incredibly sophisticated thinking for an 8-year-old. She's wise beyond her years. Karen's voice was full of pride and affection. Trauma does that sometimes. Forces children to understand complex emotional truths that adults miss. What kind of truths? That love isn't always romantic. That partnership doesn't always mean marriage. That sometimes the most important relationships are the ones where two people commit to the same mission without needing to own each other. Jack looked up from their joined hands to meet Karen's eyes. Is that what you think this is? A shared mission? I think... Karen paused, choosing her words carefully. I think Lily saw something in us that we couldn't see in ourselves. A compatibility of purpose that goes deeper than attraction or chemistry. Although there is chemistry. Jack's statement was quiet but certain. Yes. Karen's cheeks colored, but she didn't look away. There definitely is. So what do we do with all of this? Jack's question carried genuine uncertainty. The connection, the mission, the chemistry. What do we do with something this complex? We start simple. Karen's voice carried the practical wisdom of someone used to managing complicated situations. We visit Lily together, see how it feels to be in the same room, working as the team she's been imagining we are, and if it feels right, then we figure out what comes next. Karen's smile was both nervous and excited. But Jack, when we see her tomorrow, let's not tell her we've figured out her master plan. I have a feeling she's going to want to take full credit for this. Tomorrow. Jack's eyebrows rose. You want to see her tomorrow? It's Friday. I don't usually visit on Fridays, but... Karen's voice carried sudden urgency. I can't wait 2 weeks to see her reaction. Can you call and arrange a special visit? I can probably manage that. Jack's smile was warm with anticipation. Though I should warn you, she's going to have very strong opinions about how this should proceed. What kind of opinions? The 8-year-old kind. Karen's laugh was bright with affection. She's been asking me for months if I've met any nice princes lately. Princes. Jack's expression was bemused. 8-year-old girls think all good guys are princes. Karen's voice carried gentle explanation. I may have mentioned once or twice in my stories that guardian angels sometimes work in pairs. And what did she say to that? That she hoped mine would find me soon, because guardian angels are too important to be lonely. Karen's voice grew soft with memory. She said that when guardian angels find each other, they become twice as powerful because they're not afraid anymore. Afraid of what? Of caring too much and having no one to understand, of giving everything to strangers and having nothing left for themselves. Karen's voice carried depths of recognition, of being the only one who knows how much the work costs and how much it's worth. Jack felt his heart stop. She said that, all of that, not in those exact words, but that was the meaning. Karen's eyes were bright with unshed tears. She has this way of cutting straight to the emotional truth of things, even when she doesn't have the vocabulary for it yet. She understands what we do, the real cost of it. She understands what we are. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. People who can't walk away from other people's pain. People who take on responsibility that isn't technically ours because we can't bear the alternative. Is that what you see when you look at me? I see someone who's been carrying the weight of everyone else's safety for so long that he's forgotten he deserves protecting too. Karen's honesty was breathtaking. Someone who needs a partner not because he can't handle the job alone, but because the job is too important for one person to carry forever. And what do you need, Karen? Someone who understands that my work isn't just a career, it's a calling. Karen's voice was steady, certain. Someone who knows that taking care of children isn't just what I do for a living, it's who I am at the core. Someone who won't ask you to choose between love and mission. Someone who sees that they're the same thing. Karen's grip on his hand tightened. For people like us, love is mission. Mission is love. They can't be separated. People like us. Jack tested the phrase, found it felt like coming home. Guardian angels. Guardian angels who don't have to be alone anymore. Karen's voice carried quiet revolution. Guardian angels who found each other exactly when they were ready. What happens now? Jack's question was soft, vulnerable. Now we visit Lily and let her see that her prayers worked. Karen's smile was radiant with possibility. Now we find out what guardian angels do when they're off duty. And tonight, Tonight, we walk out of here together and see how it feels." Karen stood slowly, her hands still in his. "Tonight we start figuring out what comes next." Jack stood too, pulling out his wallet for the check, but Karen was already reaching for hers. "Please, let me pay for my own dinner." "Absolutely not." Jack's voice carried gentle authority. "A lady celebrating a promotion should never pay for her own dinner, especially after what she went through earlier. That's very kind, but I'm perfectly capable of—" "It's not about capability." Jack's smile was playful now. "It's about wanting to celebrate your success. It's about wanting to do something nice for someone who spent 2 years making a little girl's life brighter." When you put it that way, Karen's protest weakened into acceptance. Besides, Jack's voice carried hopeful mischief. "If I pay for dinner, maybe you'll let me buy you coffee somewhere else and tell me more about this promotion of yours. About what you're planning for your first week as head children's librarian." Karen laughed. "The sound like music in the bustling restaurant. Coffee sounds perfect. But I have one condition. Name it. You have to tell me about your work, too. The real work, not just the dramatic rescues." Karen's curiosity was genuine. "I want to know what it's like to be someone who runs toward danger when everyone else runs away." "Deal." Jack helped her with her chair, noting how naturally the gesture came. "Though I should warn you, most of it is nowhere near as exciting as television makes it look. I don't care about exciting." Karen gathered her purse and book. "I care about understanding what shaped you into someone Lily calls Captain Jack with such absolute trust." They walked toward the restaurant door together, Jack's hand finding the small of her back in a gesture that felt both protective and natural. The Seattle evening waited beyond the windows, full of possibility and the promise of conversation that could change everything. As Jack held the door open for her, Karen paused on the threshold. "Jack? Yeah, thank you. For tonight, for 2 years ago, for being exactly who Lily needed you to be." Karen's voice was soft with gratitude. "For being exactly who I needed you to be, even when I didn't know I was looking. Thank you for staying with her that day." Jack's response was equally soft. "For singing away her fear, for visiting her all these months, for keeping her drawings and her stories and her faith in guardian angels. For being exactly who you needed me to be too." They stepped out into the cool Seattle evening together, neither of them noticing the small figure watching from a children's hospital window 6 blocks away, where a little girl named Lily Martinez was supposed to be sleeping, but instead was making wishes on every star she could see through the glass. Her guardian angels had found each other, just like she'd been praying they would for 2 years. And tomorrow, she was going to have so much to say about it. The Seattle evening air was crisp with the promise of rain, as Jack and Karen walked slowly down Pine Street, their footsteps echoing softly on the still damp sidewalk. The city lights reflected off puddles from an earlier shower, creating small mirrors that captured the warm glow from restaurant windows and street lamps. "Coffee?" Jack asked as they approached the corner where Pine met Fifth Avenue. "There's a place about 2 blocks from here that stays open late. Great atmosphere for continuing conversations that change your entire worldview." Karen laughed, the sound light and musical in the evening air. "That's quite a recommendation. Do you often have worldview-changing conversations there?" "You'd be the first." Jack's honesty was refreshing, "but then again, you're the first person I've met who shares my guardian angel." "Our guardian angel," Karen corrected gently. "I have a feeling Lily would have very strong opinions about the possessive pronouns we use." They walked companionably toward the coffee shop, neither rushing nor lingering, both seeming to savor this suspended moment between their old lives and whatever was about to begin. "Can I ask you something?" Karen's voice carried the careful curiosity of someone who wanted to know everything but didn't want to pry. "Anything. When you transferred to Station 2 18 months ago, was that because of the accident, because of Lily?" Jack was quiet for several steps, considering his answer. "Partly. The official reason was that they needed someone with my experience level, and Station 2 covers more residential areas, more families, more children, and the unofficial reason I wanted to be closer to the hospital. Jack's admission came quietly. I told myself it was just practical, that if there were more calls involving children, I'd be better positioned to help. But honestly, I think I needed to feel like I was still protecting her somehow. Karen felt her heart squeeze with understanding. You were staying close to your calling. My calling. The work that chose you, not the work you chose. Karen's voice carried gentle wisdom. Lily didn't just change your perspective on the job, Jack. She changed what you thought your purpose was. They paused at a crosswalk, waiting for the light to change. The coffee shop glowed warmly across the street. Its windows steamed with conversation and the comfortable bustle of evening customers. "What about you?" Jack asked as they crossed. 3 years building toward this promotion. That's some serious dedication to a goal. It was the only goal that made sense after that day. Karen's voice carried quiet conviction. Before the accident, I was just drifting through library school, thinking about maybe working in archives or research. But watching you save her life, being part of that moment, I realized I wanted to be where children's futures were being shaped. So you specialized in children's services. I specialized in believing that stories could save lives. Karen's smile was soft with memory. That every book I put in a child's hands might be the one that teaches them they're brave, or loved, or capable of extraordinary things, like guardian angel stories. Exactly like guardian angel stories. Karen's eyes sparkled. Stories that teach children they're never truly alone, that there are people in the world whose whole purpose is protecting others. The coffee shop door chimed softly as Jack held it open for her. The interior was exactly what Karen had hoped for. A warm lighting, mismatched comfortable furniture, and the rich scent of expertly brewed coffee mixing with the gentle murmur of evening conversations. Jack guided her to a table by the window, where they could watch the Seattle evening unfold while they talked. The barista, a young woman with purple hair and a genuine smile, approached their table with menus. "What can I get you folks?" she asked cheerfully. Karen studied the menu briefly. "Decaf vanilla latte, please." "It's been enough of an evening for caffeine. Make that 2. Jack handed back the menus. "And thank you." As the barista headed back to the counter, Karen settled into her chair and really looked at Jack for the first time in proper lighting. The restaurant had been dimly lit, romantic in its way, but here she could see the details that made him uniquely himself. The scar above his left eyebrow was more pronounced than she'd first noticed, a thin white line that spoke of some old injury. His hands, wrapped around his coffee cup, bore the calluses and small scars of someone who worked with tools and machinery. But it was his eyes that drew her attention. Storm grey, yes, but with flecks of silver that caught the light when he smiled. "You're studying me." Jack's observation was amused, not self-conscious. "I'm trying to reconcile the person sitting across from me with the heroic figure from my memories." Karen's honesty was disarming. 2 years of thinking about the firefighter who saved Lily, and now you're here, real and complicated and human, disappointing. The opposite. Karen's voice was soft with wonder. "Better than I imagined, because you're not just a hero in someone else's story. You're a whole person with your own fears and hopes and reasons for doing what you do. What do you see when you look at me? Someone who's been carrying other people's safety for so long that he's forgotten to take care of himself." Karen's insight was gentle but piercing. Someone who needs a partner, not because he can't handle the work alone, but because the work is too important for one person to carry forever. Jack felt something shift in his chest, a recognition so profound it was almost painful. That's exactly what I've been feeling. Like I've been holding my breath for 2 years, waiting for someone who would understand why the work matters so much. "And what do you need from me?" Karen, what are you hoping for in all this? Someone who understands that taking care of children isn't just my job, it's who I am. Karen's voice carried quiet intensity. Someone who won't ask me to choose between love and mission, because for people like us, they're the same thing. People like us. Jack repeated the phrase, testing how it felt on his tongue. Guardian angels who found each other. Karen's smile was radiant. Guardian angels who don't have to be alone anymore. Their lattes arrived, steam rising from the cups in delicate spirals that caught the warm light. The barista set them down with a smile and retreated, leaving Jack and Karen alone with their thoughts and the weight of what they were building between them. Jack took a sip of his latte and studied Karen's face over the rim of his cup. Tell me about your promotion. What changes when you become head children's librarian? Everything. Karen's excitement was immediate and infectious. I'll be overseeing all the children's programming for the entire Seattle library system. Story times, summer reading programs, educational partnerships with schools. That sounds like a huge responsibility, the best kind of responsibility. Karen's eyes lit up with passion. Imagine being able to shape how thousands of children experience reading, learning, discovering that books can be adventures and comfort and magic all at once. You'll be their first impression of what libraries can be. Exactly. And I want that impression to be that libraries are safe spaces where any question is welcome. Any fear can be comforted with the right story. Any dream can find the books to help it grow. Jack felt his heart swell with admiration. You're going to change lives. That's the plan. Karen's confidence was quiet but absolute. Every child who walks into one of our programs should leave feeling a little more capable, a little more valued, a little more certain that there are adults in the world who believe in them. The way you made Lily feel that day in the hospital, the way we made her feel, Karen's correction was gentle but firm. You showed her that there are people who will risk their own safety to protect strangers. I just showed her that there are people who will stay with her when she's scared. Jack's voice carried gentle protest. Karen, you gave up 4 hours of your life for a child you'd never met. You rode in an ambulance, stayed through medical procedures, held her hand through the worst day of her young life. That's not just anything. It felt like the most important thing I'd ever done. Karen's voice was soft with memory. More important than any exam I'd studied for, any paper I'd written, any goal I'd achieved. Sitting with her, singing to her, making sure she wasn't alone. That was the first time I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be, and that's when you decided to specialize in children's services. That's when I decided to build my whole life around that feeling. Karen's voice carried quiet revolution, the feeling of being exactly where you're needed most. Jack set down his latte and leaned forward, giving Karen his complete attention. That day changed everything for me too. How? Before the accident, I was just going through the motions. Jack's voice carried the weight of old dissatisfaction. I became a firefighter because I wanted to help people. But somewhere along the way, it became routine. Show up, follow protocols, save who you can, move on to the next call. What changed? You. Jack's answer was simple, devastating in its honesty. Watching you with Lily, seeing how much one person's kindness could matter in the middle of chaos. It reminded me why I chose this work in the first place. You started the community outreach program because of that day. Not just because of that day, because of what you showed me was possible. Jack's voice grew stronger with conviction. You proved that emergency response doesn't have to be impersonal, that we don't have to stay detached to do our jobs effectively. What do you mean? I mean, you made it personal, and everyone was better for it. Jack's admiration was evident. Lily wasn't just another victim to process and hand off to medical care. She was a scared little girl who needed comfort as much as she needed rescue. And you learned that from watching me. I learned that caring doesn't make you weak, Jack's voice was rough with emotion. That staying connected to the people you help doesn't slow you down. It makes you better at helping them. Karen felt tears prick her eyes. You've been visiting children for 2 years because of something you learned from me. I've been trying to be the kind of first responder you showed me was possible. Jack's honesty was breathtaking. Someone who sees people, not just problems to solve. Jack. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. I know it sounds crazy. Jack's voice carried sudden vulnerability. 2 years of being influenced by someone I met for maybe 30 minutes. Someone whose name I didn't even know. It doesn't sound crazy. Karen reached across the table and covered his hand with hers. It sounds like grace. Grace, being changed by goodness, even when you don't understand how or why. Karen's voice carried gentle wisdom, being shaped by love into a better version of yourself. Is that what you think happened to us? I think we were both already good people doing important work. Karen's fingers tightened around his, but I think meeting each other made us want to be extraordinary. And Lily was the catalyst. Karen's smile was soft with affection. The little girl who needed us both to be our best selves at the same moment, who taught us what partnership could look like. Partnership. Jack tested the word, found it carried more weight than he'd expected. 2 people committed to the same mission, even when they don't know each other exist. Karen's voice carried quiet conviction. 2 people who make each other better at the work they were called to do. And now that we do know each other exist, now we find out what we can accomplish together. Karen's eyes sparkled with possibility. Now we see if guardian angels really do work better in pairs. Jack lifted his coffee cup in a toast to partnership. Karen touched her cup to his, to finding out what comes next. They drank their coffee in comfortable silence for a moment, both processing the magnitude of what they were building. The coffee shop hummed with gentle activity around them, other couples and friends pursuing their own evening conversations. But Jack and Karen existed in their own bubble of possibility. Can I tell you something that might sound presumptuous? Jack's voice carried careful vulnerability. Please, I want to know everything about you. Jack's confession came quietly. Not just the big things, the career goals and life philosophy. I want to know what makes you laugh, what scares you, what you dream about when you let yourself think beyond work. That does sound presumptuous. Karen's tone was teasing, but her eyes were serious, but also exactly what I was hoping you'd say. Really, Jack, I've been thinking about you for 2 years. Karen's honesty was disarming. Not romantically, I didn't even know your name, but wondering about the person behind the hero. Wondering what shaped you into someone who could stay so calm in crisis, so gentle with a scared child. And now that you know, now I want to know everything else. Karen's voice carried growing excitement. I want to know about your family, your childhood. What made you want to be a firefighter in the first place? Fair trade. Jack's smile was hopeful. I tell you my stories. You tell me yours. Fair trade. Karen agreed. But I should warn you, some of my stories are pretty ordinary. Small-town Oregon girl moves to the big city to find her calling. It's not exactly epic adventure. I have a feeling your version of ordinary is most people's version of extraordinary. Jack's voice carried deep conviction. Besides, I want to know about the person who raised someone brave enough to climb through a car window to comfort a stranger's child. My grandmother. Karen's face lit up with love and memory. She raised me after my parents died when I was 7. Car accident, actually, which makes what happened with Lily even more significant. Oh, Karen. Jack's voice was soft with understanding. I'm so sorry. It was a long time ago. Karen's voice was steady, peaceful, and Grandma Rose she was magic. She taught me that stories could heal anything, that books were bridges between what is and what could be. She sounds wonderful. She would have loved you. Karen's smile was bittersweet. She always said that the best people are the ones who run toward trouble instead of away from it, who see helping others as the highest calling. Is that what drew you to library work originally? Actually, no. Karen's laugh was rueful. Originally, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I was going to save all the animals, heal the sick, comfort the dying. What changed your mind? College chemistry. Karen's grimace was comedic. Turns out there's a big difference between loving animals and understanding the molecular structure of their medications. So you switched to library science. I switched to English literature with a focus on children's educational development. Karen's voice grew more serious. I realized that healing doesn't always happen in doctors' offices or hospitals. Sometimes it happens when a scared child finds exactly the right book at exactly the right moment. Like Lily finding her guardian angel stories. Like any child finding the story that teaches them they're braver than they know. Karen's passion was evident. That they're loved even when they feel alone. That they have value even when the world seems scary. You're going to be incredible at this new position. I hope so. Karen's voice carried nervous excitement. It's everything I've been working toward. But now that it's real... Well, there's a lot of pressure in being responsible for so many children's first impressions of learning. What scares you most about it? Failing them. Karen's honesty was immediate. Having a child come to one of our programs and leave feeling stupid or unwelcome or like books aren't for them, that won't happen. How can you be so sure? Because I've seen you with Lily. Jack's voice carried absolute conviction. I've heard how she talks about you, how much comfort and joy you've brought to her life. Someone with that kind of natural gift doesn't suddenly lose it because the title changes. Thank you. Karen's voice was soft with gratitude. I needed to hear that. What about you? Karen asked after a moment. What scares you about your work? Honestly, Jack's voice grew serious. Not being enough. Not being fast enough, smart enough, brave enough when someone's life depends on it. Has that happened? Have you lost someone you thought you could save? Once. Jack's voice was barely audible. About a year ago. House fire. Family trapped on the second floor. We got the parents and 2 kids out. But the grandfather, he went back for the family cat. Roof collapsed before we could reach him. Oh, Jack. Karen's voice was full of compassion. The cat lived. Jack's laugh was bitter. Mr. Peterson died for a 10-year-old calico named Whiskers, who lived another 6 months before dying of old age. That must have been devastating. Jack's honesty was painful. I questioned everything for weeks, whether I'd moved fast enough, made the right choices, done everything possible. What helped you through it? Lily. Jack's voice was soft with memory. I visited her right after it happened, and she could tell something was wrong. When I told her about Mr. Peterson, she said something that stayed with me. What did she say? That guardian angels can't save everyone, but that doesn't make them any less guardian angels. That sometimes people make choices angels can't change, but that doesn't mean the angels stop trying. Wise little girl, incredibly wise. Jack's voice carried deep affection. She said that Mr. Peterson was probably a guardian angel too, just the kind who protects cats instead of people. That there are all kinds of guardian angels, and they all matter. That's beautiful. It helped me understand that we can't control outcomes, only effort. Jack's voice grew stronger. That doing everything possible is enough, even when everything possible isn't enough to change the result. And that's what you've been carrying for the past year. That, and the fear that next time it might be someone younger. Jack's vulnerability was heartbreaking. Someone like Lily, someone whose whole life is still ahead of them. Is that why you do the hospital visits? To remind yourself of the lives you've saved? Partly. Jack's honesty was careful. But mostly because those kids remind me why the work matters. They show me that even when we can't save everyone, we can still make a difference for someone. Karen studied Jack's face in the warm coffee shop lighting, seeing the weight he carried, the responsibility he'd taken on for strangers, the fear that lived beneath his calm competence. She thought about the past year of her own life. The pressure of working toward this promotion while maintaining her volunteer work, the nights she'd gone home, exhausted but fulfilled. "Can I tell you what I see when I look at you?" Karen's voice was soft but certain. "Please." "I see someone who turns pain into purpose." Karen's words were carefully chosen. "Someone who takes the weight of other people's worst moments and transforms it into motivation to prevent more pain." "Is that what you think I do?" "I think you're the kind of person who saves 200 people and still loses sleep over the one you couldn't reach." Karen's insight was gentle but piercing. "I think you've been carrying Mr. Peterson's death like a failure instead of a tragedy." "What's the difference?" "Failure suggests you could have done something different. Tragedy acknowledges that sometimes terrible things happen despite our best efforts." Karen's voice carried hard-won wisdom. "You didn't fail Mr. Peterson. You gave him every chance you could, and he made a choice you couldn't change. How do you know that? Because Lily told me about you." Karen's smile was soft with memory. "About the firefighter who visits her, who always looks sad when she asks if he's saved anyone lately. She said you carry pictures of all the people you've helped, but you never talk about them like victories." "I don't think of them as victories." "Maybe that's part of the problem." Karen's voice was gentle but firm. "Maybe you need to start celebrating the lives you've saved instead of mourning the ones you couldn't. It feels wrong to celebrate when people like Mr. Peterson. Mr. Peterson would want you to celebrate." Karen's conviction was immediate. Any grandfather who loved his family enough to risk his life for their pet would want the firefighter who tried to save him to find joy in all the times it worked. "How can you be so sure?" "Because that's what Grandma Rose would have wanted." Karen's voice carried deep emotion. "After she died, I spent months feeling guilty for every moment of happiness, like being sad was the only way to honor her memory." "What changed?" "I found her journals." Karen's smile was bittersweet. "Turns out she'd been writing letters to me for years, knowing she might not be around to see me grow up. The last one said that the best way to honor someone's love is to live a life worthy of it. And you think Mr. Peterson would feel the same way?" "I think anyone who risks their life for others wants those others to thrive." Karen's voice carried quiet certainty. "I think he'd want you to save the next person with joy instead of fear, confidence instead of doubt." Jack was quiet for a long moment, processing her words. "You might be right. I know I'm right." Karen's voice was warm with affection. "Because I know you, Jack. Maybe we just officially met tonight, but I've been watching you work for 2 years through Lily's eyes. You're not someone who gives less than everything to everyone you're trying to help. And you've been giving everything to Lily and all those other children for 2 years. We both have." Karen's voice carried sudden realization. "We've both been pouring ourselves into our callings, trying to be worthy of the responsibility we've been given. Maybe that's why we found each other tonight." Jack's voice was thoughtful. "Maybe we've both been running on empty, trying to fill everyone else's needs without acknowledging our own." "What do you need, Jack?" Karen's question was direct, caring, not for work, not for other people. "What do you need for yourself?" Jack was quiet for so long that Karen wondered if she'd overstepped. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. "I need someone who understands why I can't walk away from other people's pain." Jack's honesty was devastating. "Someone who won't ask me to care less, just help me carry it better. And I need someone who knows that taking care of children isn't something I do, it's something I am." Karen's voice matched his vulnerability. "Someone who sees that my work and my heart are the same thing." They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their confessions settling between them like a bridge they'd just finished building. "Karen." Jack's voice was soft with wonder. "Yeah, I think we might be exactly what each other needs. I think you might be right." Karen's smile was radiant with possibility. "I think Lily might be the smartest 8-year-old in Seattle." "Speaking of Lily," Jack's voice carried hopeful anticipation. "Are you free tomorrow afternoon?" I called while you were in the restroom, and the charge nurse said we could arrange a special visit. Really? Karen's excitement was immediate. What time? 3 o'clock. Jack's smile was warm with shared anticipation. Think you can handle seeing her reaction when she realizes her master plan worked? I think the question is whether we can handle her reaction. Karen's laugh was bright with affection. She's been planning this for 2 years. She's going to have opinions about how we proceed. What kind of opinions? The 8-year-old kind. Karen's voice carried loving exasperation. She's going to want to know if we're boyfriend and girlfriend now, when we're getting married, and whether our children will be firefighters or librarians. Our children. Jack's eyebrows shot up. Jack, she's been planning our entire future. Karen's voice was gentle but certain. In her mind, guardian angels who find each other obviously get married and have little guardian angels of their own. And what do you think about that? Karen was quiet for a moment, considering. I think it's terrifying and wonderful and completely presumptuous and absolutely perfect all at the same time. That might be the most honest thing anyone's ever said to me. I'm feeling pretty honest tonight. Karen's voice carried newfound boldness. Finding you feels like the beginning of everything I didn't know I was waiting for. Karen. Jack's voice was rough with emotion. I know it's crazy. We just met, officially, a few hours ago. But Jack. Karen's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I feel like I've been holding my breath for 2 years, and tonight I can finally breathe again. I know exactly what you mean. Jack reached across the table and took both her hands in his. I feel like I've been sleepwalking through my life, and you just woke me up. So what do we do with that? We take it one day at a time. Karen's voice was steady, practical. We visit Lily tomorrow and see how it feels to be in the same room, working as the team she's been imagining we are. And if it feels right, then we keep building this. Jack's voice carried quiet determination. Whatever this is, whatever it becomes. Together. Together. Jack lifted their joined hands and pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. 2 guardian angels who don't have to be alone anymore. The coffee shop had grown quieter around them as the evening progressed, other customers gradually drifting home to their own lives and responsibilities. Jack and Karen remained at their window table, hands intertwined, voices growing softer as their conversation became more intimate. Can I ask you something personal? Karen's voice carried careful curiosity. After everything we've shared tonight, I think personal is exactly where we should be. Jack's encouragement was gentle. What made you want to be a firefighter? I mean, really. Beyond the helping people part. Jack was quiet for a moment, considering how much to reveal. My dad, you said he was police. Did he want you to follow in his footsteps? The opposite? Jack's smile was rueful. He spent my entire childhood trying to talk me out of any kind of first responder work. Said it was too dangerous, too thankless, too hard on families. But you chose it anyway. Because of something that happened when I was 12. Jack's voice grew distant with memory. House fire 3 blocks from where we lived. I was riding my bike home from school when the trucks arrived. Did you see the fire? I saw my dad. Jack's voice was soft with old amazement. He was off duty, just happened to be driving by when the call came in. I watched him run into that burning house without hesitation. No gear, no backup, just because he heard there might be someone inside. Was there? Elderly woman, Mrs. Chen. She'd been overcome by smoke trying to save her photo albums. Jack's voice carried deep respect. Dad carried her out, got her breathing again, stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. That must have been incredible to witness. It was the first time I understood what real courage looked like. Jack's eyes were bright with the memory, not the absence of fear, but doing what needed to be done, despite the fear. And that's when you decided. That's when I understood that some people are called to run toward danger instead of away from it. Jack's voice carried quiet conviction. That there's a special kind of person who sees someone else's crisis and thinks I have to help instead of I'm glad that's not me. And your dad? How did he feel when you told him? Proud and terrified in equal measure. Jack's laugh was warm with affection. He made me promise to be smarter than he was, to follow protocols, to remember that I can't save everyone. Sounds like good advice. The best advice. Jack's voice grew serious. Though I didn't truly understand what he meant about not being able to save everyone until Mr. Peterson. Have you talked to your dad about what happened? We had dinner last week. Jack's voice was soft with gratitude. He said something that helped, actually. That the measure of a firefighter isn't how many people he saves, it's how many people he tries to save. That's beautiful. He said that failure is when you don't try, not when you try, and it doesn't work out. Jack's voice carried hard-won peace. That Mr. Peterson's choice doesn't reflect on my effort or my worth. Your father sounds very wise. He is. And he'd like you. Jack's voice carried sudden certainty. He always said I needed to find someone who understood that my work wasn't just a job. And have you found someone who understood? I've found someone who doesn't just understand it. She shares it. Jack's voice was warm with amazement. Someone whose calling is as strong as mine, just pointed in a different direction. Complementary callings. Karen's voice carried growing understanding. You save children from physical danger. I save them from emotional danger. Through stories and safety and the absolute certainty that someone cares about their well-being. Jack's admiration was evident. Through creating spaces where they can be curious and vulnerable and completely themselves. When you put it like that, we really have been partners all along. Karen's voice carried wonder, just working different aspects of the same mission, taking care of the future. Jack's voice was soft with reverence, making sure children grow up knowing they matter, they're protected, they're valued, and that there are adults in the world they can trust. Karen's voice carried deep emotion. Adults who will show up when they're needed, who will stay when things get scary, who will fight for them even when they can't fight for themselves. That's what you did for Lily that day. Jack's voice was rough with feeling. You became the adult she could trust in the worst moment of her young life. We both did. Karen's correction was firm. You showed her that there are people who risk everything to protect strangers. I showed her that there are people who stay with you when you're scared, and together we showed her that she was worth saving and worth staying with. Jack's voice carried profound realization that she mattered enough for two strangers to give their best effort, their complete attention, their genuine care. No wonder she's been trying to get us back together. She's been protecting her guardian angels. Karen's laugh was soft with affection, making sure the people who saved her were taken care of too. Smart kid. The smartest. Karen's voice was full of love. She understood something about partnership that we're just figuring out. What's that? That guardian angels work better when they're not alone. Jack's voice carried quiet amazement that having someone who understands your mission makes you better at everything, not just the mission itself. Someone to share the weight, someone to share the joy. Karen's correction was gentle. The successes, the moments when everything works out, when a child's face lights up because they feel safe or loved or excited about learning. I haven't been celebrating the successes. Jack's admission was quiet, thoughtful. Neither have I. Karen's voice carried sudden recognition. I've been so focused on the children who still need help that I haven't taken time to appreciate the ones who are thriving. Maybe that's something we can learn to do together. Jack's voice carried hopeful possibility. Celebrate the wins while still working toward more wins. I'd like that. Karen's voice was soft with anticipation. I'd like to learn how to find joy in the work instead of just purpose. What would that look like? I don't know yet. Jack's honesty was refreshing, but I know I want to find out with you. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, both processing the magnitude of what they were building. The coffee shop was nearly empty now, just a few students with laptops and the gentle clatter of the barista cleaning equipment. We should probably head out. Karen's voice carried reluctant practicality. It's getting late, and tomorrow is a big day. Lily Day. Jack's smile was warm with anticipation. Lily Day. Karen agreed. Are you nervous? Terrified. Jack's admission was immediate. What if she doesn't like seeing us together? What if it changes how she feels about our individual relationships with her? It won't. Karen's certainty was comforting. If anything, she'll be thrilled that her plan worked. She's been worried about us being lonely. How do you know that? Because she asks about it every visit. Karen's voice was gentle with memory. Whether I've met any nice princes, whether I have someone to take care of me the way I take care of other people, and what do you tell her? That I'm still looking? Karen's eyes sparkled. But after tomorrow, I'll have a different answer. What will you tell her? That I found him. Karen's voice was soft with certainty. That my guardian angel found me exactly when I was ready. They gathered their coats and prepared to leave, both reluctant to end this evening that had changed everything. Jack left money on the table while Karen collected her purse and book, the same book she'd been reading when this all began. Hard to believe this started with dinner and a book. Karen's voice carried amazement at how much had changed in just a few hours. The best love stories usually start with ordinary moments. Jack's voice was warm with affection as he held the door for her. Love stories. Karen's eyebrows rose playfully. Jack's face flushed slightly. That's not what I meant. I mean, obviously it's too soon to talk about. Jack. Karen silenced him with a gentle touch to his arm. It's okay. I know what you meant. Do you? You meant that sometimes the most extraordinary things grow out of the most ordinary circumstances. Karen's voice was understanding. That magic often looks like coincidence until you look back and see the pattern. Exactly. Jack's relief was evident. Though I should probably be more careful about my word choices. Why? Karen's voice carried gentle challenge. Are you afraid of talking about love? Not afraid, exactly, just aware that it's a big word with big implications. What if I told you I wasn't afraid of it? Karen's boldness surprised them both. I'd ask what you mean by that. I mean that whatever this is between us, it's already bigger than friendship or attraction or convenience. Karen's voice carried quiet conviction. It's already about wanting the best for each other, about supporting each other's callings, about building something together that we can't build alone, and that's love to you. That's the foundation of love. Karen's voice was thoughtful. The rest, the romance, the partnership, the future. That's what we'll build on that foundation. Jack stopped walking and turned to face her fully. Karen Wilson, you are unlike anyone I've ever met. Good different or bad different. The kind of different that makes me want to be a better man. Jack's voice was rough with emotion. The kind of different that makes me believe in things I thought were just fairy tales. Like what? Like the idea that two people can find each other at exactly the right moment. Jack's voice was soft with wonder, like the idea that love isn't just feeling, it's recognition. Recognition, recognizing the person you've been looking for without knowing you were looking. Karen's voice carried deep understanding, recognizing home in someone else's eyes. Is that what this feels like to you? Like coming home? It feels like I've been wandering around lost for 2 years, and tonight I finally found the map. Jack's honesty was breathtaking. Like everything I've been doing was just preparation for being the kind of person you could love. Jack. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. Too much. Jack's vulnerability was endearing, not nearly enough. Karen's smile was radiant, just unexpected. Good. Unexpected. They had reached the corner where their paths would diverge. Karen toward Capitol Hill and her apartment, Jack toward his place in Queen Anne. Neither seemed eager to separate. This is me. Karen gestured toward the bus stop where the late evening route would take her home. Let me drive you. Jack's offer was immediate. It's late and I hate the idea of you traveling alone after everything tonight. I'll be fine." Jack looked skeptical, and Karen laughed. "I promise. I take this route all the time, and besides, I need the thinking time, to process everything that's happened." Karen's voice was soft with amazement. "To figure out how I went from celebrating a promotion alone to this, planning a future with someone I've been dreaming about for 2 years without knowing it." Karen's honesty was disarming. Falling in love with the idea of partnership, of shared mission, of not having to carry everything alone anymore. The bus appeared in the distance, its headlights cutting through the evening mist. Both Jack and Karen looked toward it with something approaching regret. "I don't want this evening to end." Jack's confession came quietly. "It doesn't have to end." Karen's voice carried gentle promise. "Tomorrow afternoon, we'll see Lily together. Tomorrow evening, maybe dinner. Somewhere we can talk about how it felt to finally be in the same room as a team. I'd love that." Jack's voice was warm with anticipation. "Though I should warn you, after Lily gets through with us, we might need therapy more than dinner." "Why?" "Because she's going to have very detailed opinions about our relationship timeline." Karen's laugh was bright with affection. 8-year-olds are not known for their patience with slow romance. Good thing we're not planning on slow romance. Jack's words surprised them both. "We're not." The bus was pulling up to the stop now, its brakes hissing softly. Karen stepped closer to Jack, looking up into his storm-grey eyes. "Are we, Jack, planning on slow romance?" "I'm planning on whatever feels right." Jack's voice was honest, vulnerable. "I'm planning on following this wherever it leads, as fast or as slow as it needs to go. And if it leads somewhere permanent, then I guess we'll find out if Lily was right about guardian angels working better in pairs." Jack's smile was warm with possibility. Karen stood on her tiptoes and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek, breathing in the scent of him. Soap and coffee and something indefinably warm that would always mean safety to her. "See you tomorrow, Captain Jack. See you tomorrow, guardian angel." Karen climbed onto the bus and found a seat by the window. As it pulled away from the curb, she watched Jack standing under the streetlight, his hand pressed to the cheek she'd kissed, looking like a man who'd just discovered magic was real. 24 hours ago, she'd been a single woman focused entirely on her career, celebrating achievements in solitude, building a life around service to others while neglecting her own heart. Tonight, she was someone who believed in destiny, who'd found her perfect partner in the most impossible way, who was falling in love with the idea of shared tomorrows and complementary callings, and the radical notion that guardian angels really did work better in pairs. As the bus carried her home through the Seattle evening, Karen Wilson pressed her fingers to her lips and smiled, already counting the hours until she'd see Jack Davis again. Some love stories started with grand gestures and dramatic meetings. Theirs had started with protection, recognition, and the wisdom of an 8-year-old who believed in happy endings for the people who took care of everyone else. Karen couldn't wait to see what Lily would say tomorrow when she realized her prayers had been answered. Jack Davis watched the bus disappear into the Seattle evening, his hand still pressed to his cheek where Karen had kissed him. The city hummed with its usual nighttime energy around him, but everything felt different now. Everything felt possible. He walked slowly toward his own neighborhood, replaying every moment of the evening in his mind. The restaurant intervention that had started it all, the gradual recognition, the shared stories about Lily, the coffee shop conversation that had revealed the depth of their connection. 24 hours ago, he'd been going through the motions of his life, competent but unfulfilled, serving others while wondering if he'd ever find someone who understood why the work mattered so much. Tonight, he'd found not just understanding, but partnership. Not just attraction, but recognition. Not just romance, but calling confirmed and calling shared. His phone buzzed with a text message as he reached his building. Karen's number, which he'd entered into his contacts while she was in the coffee shop restroom. "Thank you for tonight, for protection, for recognition, for making me believe in magic again. Sweet dreams, Captain Jack." Jack smiled as he typed his response. "Thank you for staying with her that day, for visiting her all these months, for being exactly who I needed to find. Sweet dreams, guardian angel." He climbed the stairs to his apartment, already thinking about tomorrow, about seeing Lily's face when she realized her master plan had worked, about working with Karen as a team instead of just hearing about her through an 8-year-old's stories, about what it would feel like to finally be part of the partnership that little girl had been envisioning for 2 years. As Jack got ready for bed, he looked at the photo on his nightstand, himself with the crew from Station 2, all of them grinning after a successful rescue. Good men doing important work, serving their community with pride and dedication. But tomorrow, he wouldn't just be a firefighter serving the community. Tomorrow, he'd be half of a guardian angel team, working alongside the woman who'd been changing his life from a distance for 2 years. Tomorrow, he'd finally understand what Lily had been trying to tell them all along. Guardian angels were better together. The Seattle Children's Hospital bustled with its usual Friday afternoon energy as Jack Davis walked through the familiar corridors toward the pediatric ward. He'd made this journey dozens of times over the past 2 years, but today felt completely different. Today, he wasn't visiting alone. Karen Wilson was already there when he arrived at the nurse's station, signing in for her special visit. She wore a soft blue sweater that brought out her eyes and carried a canvas bag that undoubtedly held new books for the children. When she looked up and saw him approaching, her smile was radiant with nervous excitement. "Captain Jack, right on time." Karen's voice carried the warmth he was already learning to love, mixed with anticipation that matched his own. "Just doing my job." Jack's automatic response came with a grin that took away any hint of false modesty. "Though I have to admit, this is the most nervous I've ever been about a hospital visit." "You're nervous?" Karen's surprise was genuine. "You do this all the time, not with you." Jack's honesty was immediate. "Not as a team. What if we change the dynamic she's used to? What if seeing us together confuses her?" "It won't." The voice came from behind them, warm and professional. They turned to see Maria Santos, the charge nurse who'd become a friend to both of them over the months of visits. "Ms. Santos." Karen's greeting was bright with affection. "How is she today?" Excited doesn't begin to cover it. Maria's smile was knowing, almost mischievous. "She's been talking non-stop since I told her yesterday that both her special visitors were coming at the same time." "Both her special visitors," Jack repeated carefully. "Oh, she knows." Maria's laugh was gentle. "She's always known. She just never said anything because she was waiting for you two to figure it out yourselves." "She's been waiting for us to figure what out?" Karen's voice carried growing amazement. "That you belong together." Maria's voice was matter-of-fact. "That little girl has been praying for her 2 guardian angels to find each other since the day she met you both." "Praying." Jack's voice was soft with emotion. "Every night." Maria's expression grew tender. "She tells anyone who'll listen that guardian angels work better in pairs, that her angels were probably lonely taking care of everyone else." Karen felt tears prick her eyes. "She's been worried about us. She's been taking care of you the way you've been taking care of her." Maria's insight was gentle, making sure her favorite people weren't alone in the world. Is she in her room?" Jack's voice carried nervous anticipation. "Actually, she's in the playroom." Maria gestured down the hall. "She wanted to show you both something special, and she needed more space than her room provides." "Something special?" Karen exchanged glances with Jack. "You'll see." Maria's smile was mysterious. "Room 304, take your time. And don't be surprised if she has some very specific questions about your relationship status." Jack and Karen walked down the familiar hallway together, their footsteps echoing softly on the polished floors. The pediatric ward was decorated with cheerful murals and bright colors, designed to make sick children feel safe and hopeful. "I can't believe she's known all along." Karen's voice was full of wonder. "I can." Jack's response was thoughtful. "She's the one who asked me if guardian angels ever get to meet each other. She's been planning this reunion for 2 years. They paused outside room 304, both taking deep breaths to prepare for whatever waited beyond the door. "Ready?" Jack asked gently, for Lily's reaction to her master plan finally working. Karen's laugh was nervous but excited. "I don't think anyone could be ready for that." Jack knocked softly on the doorframe. "Lily, it's Captain Jack. I brought someone special with me." The response was immediate and joyful. "Captain Jack, come in, come in. I've been waiting forever." They stepped into the playroom together, and what they saw took their breath away. The entire far wall was covered with drawings, dozens of them, all featuring the same 2 figures, a firefighter with a helmet and an axe, and a woman with long hair holding a book. In some pictures, they were working together to help children. In others, they were holding hands. In several they were surrounded by hearts and stars. But it was the little girl sitting cross-legged in front of this gallery who made Jack's heart nearly stop with recognition and love. Lily Martinez had grown in the 2 years since the accident. She was taller now, her dark hair longer, but her eyes held the same bright intelligence and warmth that had made her impossible to forget. She wore a hospital gown decorated with cartoon firefighters and carried the miniature helmet Jack had given her. When she saw them standing together in the doorway, her face lit up with pure joy. "You found each other." Lily's voice was filled with triumph and delight. "My guardian angels finally found each other." Karen knelt down to Lily's level, her voice soft with emotion. "Hello, sweetheart. We certainly did find each other." "I knew you would." Lily launched herself into Karen's arms with the enthusiasm of a child who'd been waiting 2 years for this moment. "I knew if I kept praying and kept telling you about each other, you'd figure it out." "You've been telling us about each other." Jack crouched down beside them, his voice full of amazement. "Of course." Lily's tone suggested this should have been obvious. "Karen, I told you about Captain Jack who visits and brings pictures and talks about being brave. Captain Jack. I told you about Miss Karen who reads the best stories and always knows exactly what I need to hear." "Oh my gosh." Karen's realization was evident in her voice. "That's why you always asked if I'd met any nice princes. You were asking about Jack, and that's why you always asked if I'd found my guardian angel partner." Lily's grin was triumphant. "I was trying to help you find each other without being too obvious about it. Lily Martinez, you are the smartest 8-year-old in Seattle." Jack's voice was full of affection and admiration. "I know." Lily's confidence was matter of fact. "That's why I knew my plan would work eventually." "What plan exactly?" Karen asked, though she was beginning to suspect she already knew. "The plan to get my guardian angels married so they could take care of each other the way they take care of everyone else." Lily's voice carried the satisfaction of a job well done. "Married?" Jack's voice climbed slightly in surprise. "Well, yeah." Lily's tone suggested this was completely logical. Guardian angels who love each other get married. That's how they become the strongest kind of team. And you think we love each other? Karen's question was gentle, curious. "Don't you?" Lily's counter-question was direct, innocent, devastating in its simplicity. Jack and Karen looked at each other over Lily's head, both seeing the answer written clearly in the other's eyes. "Yeah." Jack's voice was soft but certain. "We do. I knew it." Lily clapped her hands with delight. "I could tell by how you both got that dreamy look whenever I talked about the other one." "Dreamy look?" Karen's cheeks colored slightly. "Like you were thinking about something really wonderful that you couldn't have." Lily's observation was astute beyond her years. "But now you can have it. Now you can be together and take care of each other and have the best guardian angel team ever." Before either Jack or Karen could respond, the playroom door opened and a woman in her mid-30s entered. She had Lily's dark hair and warm eyes, and her face lit up with recognition when she saw Jack and Karen. You must be Miss Karen. Maria Martinez approached with a smile that held deep gratitude. I'm Lily's mama. I've heard so much about you both. Mrs. Martinez, Karen stood and extended her hand. It's wonderful to finally meet you. Please, call me Maria. Maria's handshake was warm, genuine, and Captain Jack, it's good to see you again. Just Jack is fine. Jack's correction was gentle. How are you doing, Maria? Better every day, thanks to you both. Maria's voice carried deep emotion. Do you have any idea what you've meant to our family, what you've meant to Lily? We were just doing what needed to be done. Karen's modesty was automatic. No. Maria's voice was firm, but kind. What you did went far beyond what needed to be done. You saved my daughter's life, yes, but more than that, you saved her faith in people. I don't understand. Jack's confusion was genuine. After the accident, after losing her abuelo, Maria's voice grew soft with memory. Lily was so angry, so scared. She couldn't understand why bad things happened to good people, why someone who loved her so much had to die. That's completely understandable. Karen's voice was full of compassion. But then she started talking about her guardian angels. Maria's smile was radiant with gratitude. About the firefighter who worked so hard to save her, who visited her in the hospital, who made her feel safe. About the lady who sang to her and stayed with her and made sure she wasn't alone. You gave her hope. Jack's voice carried dawning understanding. You gave her proof that there are still good people in the world. Maria's eyes were bright with tears. People who risk their own safety to protect strangers. People who stay with scared children when they could go home to their own lives. Lily bounced excitedly beside them. Tell them about the prayers, Mama. Tell them about how I've been praying for them. Every night for 2 years. Maria's voice was soft with wonder. She prays for her guardian angels to be happy, to be safe, to find each other so they won't be lonely anymore. She's been praying for us to find each other. Karen's voice was barely a whisper. She said, guardian angels work better in pairs. Maria's smile was gentle. That when they find each other, they become twice as strong because they're not scared anymore. Scared of what? Jack asked gently. Of being the only one who understands how important the work is. Lily's voice was serious now, wise beyond her 8 years. Of caring too much about strangers and not having anyone to understand why. Karen and Jack exchanged amazed glances. That was exactly what they'd discussed last night. The fear they'd both carried for years. Lily, how did you know that? Karen's voice was full of wonder. Because I watch people. Lily's answer was matter of fact. I watch how my guardian angels look when they think no one is paying attention. You both get this sad, tired look sometimes, like you're carrying something really heavy, and you thought if we found each other, we wouldn't have to carry it alone. Jack's voice was soft with emotion. Exactly. Lily's enthusiasm returned in full force. 2 people carrying the same heavy thing makes it half as heavy for each person. Where did you learn that? Maria asked her daughter gently. From watching Captain Jack and Miss Karen take care of people. Lily's voice carried simple wisdom. They both make everyone else feel better, but nobody was making them feel better. So I asked God to help them find each other. And God answered your prayers? Karen asked softly. Duh. Lily's response was confident, matter of fact. God always answers prayers about guardian angels. It just takes him a while sometimes, because he has to make sure they're ready. Ready for what? Ready to love each other the right way. Lily's voice carried 8-year-old certainty, ready to be a team instead of just 2 people who happen to like each other. Lily Martinez, you are going to be an incredible woman someday. Jack's voice was full of admiration. I'm going to be a guardian angel just like you and Miss Karen. Lily's declaration was immediate and certain. I'm going to help kids who are scared and take care of people who need it. What kind of guardian angel? Karen asked gently. The kind that helps kids in hospitals feel brave. Lily's answer came without hesitation. Like a nurse, but also like a teacher, but also like someone who just stays with people when they're scared. That sounds like the perfect kind of guardian angel. Jack's voice was warm with encouragement. And when I grow up and become a guardian angel, I'm gonna find my partner too. Lily's voice carried absolute confidence, just like you two did. How will you know when you find the right partner? Maria asked with a smile. The same way Captain Jack and Miss Karen knew. Lily's answer was immediate. I'll look at them and think, oh, there you are. I've been waiting for you. Is that how it felt? Maria looked between Jack and Karen with curiosity. When you saw each other last night, like coming home, Karen's answer was immediate, honest, like finding the other half of something I didn't know was incomplete, like recognizing someone I'd been looking for my whole life without knowing it. Jack's voice matched her honesty. Lily clapped her hands with delight. See, I told you guardian angels always recognize each other. You did indeed. Karen's voice was full of affection. Though I have to ask, how did you know we'd find each other last night specifically? I didn't know it would be last night. Lily's confession came with a shy smile. But I knew it would be soon, because you both started asking different questions. Different questions, Jack prompted gently. Miss Karen stopped asking if there were any nice princes and started asking if I thought guardian angels ever got lonely. Lily's observation was astute. And Captain Jack stopped asking about my drawing and started asking if I thought angels ever found their partners. We were both thinking about partnership. Karen's realization was evident in her voice. Because you were both ready. Lily's voice carried quiet satisfaction, ready to stop being scared of loving someone who understood your work. The playroom fell into comfortable silence as the adults processed the wisdom coming from an 8-year-old girl. Lily, meanwhile, scrambled over to her art gallery and carefully selected one particular drawing. I made this one special. Lily held up a drawing that was more detailed than the others. It showed Jack and Karen standing together, holding hands, with Lily between them. Above them, the word family was written in careful block letters. Family. Karen's voice was soft with emotion, not like Mama and Daddy family. Lily's clarification was important to her. Like chosen family, like people who pick each other and decide to take care of each other forever. That's beautiful. Mija. Maria's voice was thick with tears. I want you to have it. Lily held the drawing out to Jack and Karen. For your refrigerator, so you remember that someone loves you both and wants you to be happy. Jack accepted the drawing with hands that weren't quite steady. Thank you, Lily. This is the most beautiful gift anyone's ever given us. Are you gonna get married? Lily's question was direct, expectant. Lily, Maria's voice carried gentle reproof. It's okay. Karen's voice was calm, thoughtful. That's a fair question, considering everything. She looked at Jack, seeing the same certainty in his eyes that she felt in her heart. We're going to see what happens. Karen's answer was honest but age-appropriate. We're going to spend time together, get to know each other better, see if this feeling keeps growing. It will. Lily's confidence was absolute. Guardian angel love always grows. That's what makes it different from regular love. What makes guardian angel love different? Jack asked gently. Regular love is about wanting to be with someone because they make you happy. Lily's explanation was serious, thoughtful. Guardian angel love is about wanting to be with someone because together you can make other people happy too. That's very wise. Karen's voice was full of admiration. It's true. Lily's matter-of-fact tone carried no doubt. You and Captain Jack don't just love each other. You love the work you do, and together you can do it better. And that's important to you, that we can do our work better together. It's the most important thing. Lily's voice was passionate now, because the work you do saves people like me. The work you do makes scared kids feel safe and loved and important. Maria wiped tears from her eyes. She's right, you know. What you do, it changes lives. It changed ours. How? Jack asked softly. Lily was so angry after the accident. Maria's voice was gentle with memory. She couldn't understand why her abuelo had to die, why bad things happened to people she loved. She stopped trusting that adults would protect her, but then she met us. Karen's understanding was immediate. Then she met you both, and she saw that there really are people whose whole purpose is protecting others. Maria's gratitude was evident. People who risk everything for strangers, people who stay with scared children, people who visit for years just to make sure someone is okay. We restored her faith in people. Jack's voice carried wonder. You restored her faith in everything. Maria's voice was thick with emotion, in goodness, in love, in the idea that there are angels among us who look like regular people but have guardian hearts. Lily nodded enthusiastically. That's why you have to be together. That's why guardian angels need partners, because the work is too important for just one person. And what do you think our job is as a team? Karen asked gently. To take care of all the scared kids. Lily's answer was immediate. To make sure no child ever feels alone when they're frightened. To show them that there are always adults who will protect them and care about them. That's a big responsibility. Jack's voice was serious. That's why there are two of you. Lily's logic was unassailable. One person can't take care of all the scared kids in the world, but two people who love each other and love the work can take care of a lot more. She's right. Karen's voice carried growing excitement. Together, we could expand the programs, reach more children, create more connections between emergency services and educational support. We could train other first responders in child trauma response. Jack's voice matched her enthusiasm. Create protocols that ensure children have emotional support throughout crisis situations. See? Lily's satisfaction was evident. You're already thinking like a team. You're already making each other better at the work? Is that what you want for us, sweetheart? To be a team? Maria asked gently. I want them to be happy. Lily's answer was simple, profound. And guardian angels are happiest when they're taking care of people together. What if we promise to always be friends, to always care about each other, no matter what happens? Karen's voice was gentle, careful. Would that be enough? Lily considered this seriously. Are you going to love each other? Yes. Jack's answer was immediate, certain. Are you going to take care of each other? Yes. Karen's response matched his certainty. Are you going to work together to help more kids? Absolutely, they answered in unison. Then that's enough for now. Lily's wisdom was startling. Love grows when you're not watching it too carefully. You just have to make sure you're both paying attention when it does. The conversation was interrupted by a soft knock on the door. Ms. Santos appeared with a warm smile and a clipboard. I hate to interrupt, but Lily has therapy in 15 minutes. Maria, you'll need to sign these discharge papers for next week. Next week? Karen asked with interest. Lily's being discharged. Maria's voice was bright with joy. Final clean bill of health from all her specialists. No more regular hospital visits. Really, Jack's excitement was immediate. Lily, that's incredible news. I know, Lily's bounce was irrepressible. And the best part is, I don't need my guardian angels to visit me in the hospital anymore. I can visit them at work instead. Visit us at work. Karen's voice carried amused curiosity. Miss Karen, can I come see the library? Can you show me where you're going to be the head of all the children's books? Lily's enthusiasm was infectious. Of course you can. Karen's response was immediate. I would love to give you a tour of the children's department. And Captain Jack, can I see the fire station? Can you show me the trucks and maybe let me ring the bell? Lily's hope was evident. I think that can be arranged. Jack's voice was warm with affection. Though I should warn you, the guys at the station are going to want to meet the little girl who's been keeping their captain in line. Keeping you in line. Lily's confusion was adorable. They think you're the reason I've been so happy during my visits lately. Jack's explanation was gentle. They've noticed that I always come back from seeing you with a big smile and stories about a very wise little girl. That's because you love me." Lily's statement was matter-of-fact, confident. "I do love you." Jack's voice was rough with emotion. "You changed my life, Lily Martinez. You both did." Lily's voice was serious now. "You taught me that guardian angels are real, that there are people who will always try to protect kids like me, and you taught us that guardian angels work better in pairs." Karen's voice was soft with gratitude. That love multiplies instead of divides when it's shared. Maria stood to sign the discharge papers, but paused to look at Jack and Karen with deep appreciation. "I don't know how to thank you both for saving her life, for visiting all these months, for showing her that the world is still full of good people who care about children. You don't need to thank us." Jack's voice was humble but firm. "Lily has given us far more than we ever gave her." "What do you mean?" Maria asked gently. "She gave us each other." Karen's voice was soft with wonder. "She gave us the understanding that our work means more when it's shared, that taking care of others is easier when someone is taking care of us too. She gave us a family." Jack's voice carried deep emotion as he looked at the drawing Lily had given them. "Chosen family, the best kind." Miss Santos finished collecting the paperwork and smiled at the scene before her. "Lily, sweetie, it's time for therapy. But I think your guardian angels will be back to visit soon, really soon." Karen's promise was immediate. "And next time, we'll visit you at home instead of in the hospital. With books." Lily's excitement was boundless. "Bring lots of books so I can pick the best ones for my new room. And maybe some firefighter stickers for that helmet collection of yours." Jack's addition made Lily clap with delight. As they prepared to leave, Lily suddenly grew serious and took both Jack and Karen by the hands. "I need to tell you something important." Lily's voice carried unusual gravity. "What is it, sweetheart?" Karen asked gently. "Taking care of each other is just as important as taking care of everyone else." Lily's wisdom was profound. Guardian angels need guardian angels too. "What do you mean?" Jack asked softly. "I mean, don't forget to be happy." Lily's voice was earnest, caring. "Don't get so busy taking care of other people that you forget to love each other and have fun and enjoy being together." That's very wise advice. Karen's voice was thick with emotion. "I learned it from watching you both." Lily's observation was astute. "You both take such good care of everyone else, but sometimes you forget to take care of yourselves. You've been worried about us." Jack's realization was soft with wonder. "Of course I have." Lily's response was immediate. "You're my guardian angels. I want you to be as happy as you make everyone else." Maria approached and gently took Lily's hand. "Time to go, mija, but you'll see your angels again soon." Lily hugged them both fiercely, whispering in their ears. To Karen, "Take good care of Captain Jack. He pretends he's not scared, but sometimes he is." To Jack, "Take good care of Miss Karen. She pretends she doesn't need anyone, team, but she does." Then she stepped back with a smile that held all the wisdom and love of someone far beyond her 8 years. "I love you both. Thank you for finding each other, so I don't have to worry about you being lonely anymore. We love you too, guardian angel." Karen's voice was barely steady. "Thank you for taking care of us all this time." Jack's gratitude was evident. "Thank you for bringing us together." As Lily and Maria left for therapy, Jack and Karen stood alone in the playroom, surrounded by dozens of drawings that chronicled a little girl's 2-year campaign to unite her guardian angels. Jack carefully rolled up the drawing Lily had given them, the one labeled Family, that showed all 3 of them together. "She's incredible." Karen's voice was full of awe. 8 years old, and she's been orchestrating our entire relationship. She saw what we couldn't see. Jack's voice carried wonder, that we belong together, that we were meant to be a team. "Are we?" Karen's question was soft, vulnerable. "Meant to be a team." Jack turned to face her fully, taking her hands in his, just as Lily had done moments before. "Karen Wilson, I love you." Jack's declaration was simple, devastating in its honesty. "I love your dedication to children, your gentle strength, your willingness to sing away someone's fear, even when you're scared too." "Jack Davis, I love you too." Karen's response was immediate, certain. "I love your courage, your humility, your determination to protect others, even when it costs you everything." "So what happens now?" Jack asked gently. "Now we build the life Lily envisioned for us." Karen's voice was strong with conviction. "Now we become the guardian angel team she's been praying for." Together, Jack's voice carried quiet revolution. "Together," Karen agreed. Two people who love each other and love the work, taking care of the world's scared children, one story, one rescue, one moment of comfort at a time. As they walked out of Seattle Children's Hospital together, Jack carrying their new family portrait and Karen carrying the certainty that they'd found their calling and their partner in the same impossible moment, neither of them noticed the small figure watching from a therapy room window. Lily Martinez pressed her face to the glass and smiled as she watched her guardian angels leave the hospital hand in hand for the first time. Her prayers had been answered. Her angels had found each other. And now they could live happily ever after, just like in the best stories, the ones where guardian angels got to be guardian angels together. 6 months later, the backyard of Maria Martinez's modest Seattle home buzzed with the kind of joyful energy that only comes from genuine celebration. Colorful streamers hung between trees. A banner reading, "Lily's Clean Bill of Health Forever," stretched across the patio, and the scent of Maria's famous tamales mixed with the late spring air. Karen Wilson, soon-to-be Davis, adjusted the pale yellow sundress she'd chosen, specifically because Lily had once said yellow was the color of guardian angels. She stood near the dessert table, watching Jack demonstrate proper fire safety techniques to a group of fascinated neighborhood children using plastic toy trucks and an impressive array of sound effects. 6 months. It felt like a lifetime and an instant all at once. 6 months since that night at Corner Table Bistro, when a drunk businessman had inadvertently set in motion the reunion they'd been destined for. 6 months since they discovered that love could be both recognition and revolution, both coming home and setting out on adventure. 6 months of learning that Lily had been right about everything. "Miss Karen, Miss Karen." Lily's voice cut through the party chatter as she raced across the yard, her dark hair flying behind her like a banner of pure joy. She wore a dress that sparkled with sequined stars and carried something carefully hidden behind her back. "Hello, sweetheart?" Karen knelt down to Lily's level, noting how much she'd grown in just half a year. The little girl who'd been pale and fragile in her hospital bed now radiated health and happiness. "You look absolutely beautiful today. Thank you." But guess what? Lily's excitement was barely contained. "I have a surprise for you and Captain Jack." "Oh my gosh. What kind of surprise?" Karen's genuine curiosity made Lily bounce with anticipation. "The best kind, but I need to get Captain Jack first." Lily looked toward where Jack was explaining the mechanics of ladder trucks to an audience of 8 fascinated children. "Captain Jack, come here. Guardian angel emergency. Guardian angel emergency." Jack's response was immediate, his protective instincts activated even at a backyard party. He jogged over with the easy athleticism that still made Karen's heart skip. "What's wrong? Nothing's wrong." Lily's grin was triumphant. "Everything's right, but I need to show you both something super important." She pulled her hands from behind her back to reveal a large manila envelope decorated with hand-drawn hearts and stars. "What's this, sweetheart?" Karen asked gently. "Open it." Lily thrust the envelope toward them. "But sit down first, because it might make you cry happy tears." Jack and Karen exchanged amused glances and settled onto the nearby porch steps. Jack carefully opened the envelope while Lily vibrated with excitement beside them. Inside were two documents, clearly official despite the crayon decorations around the borders. As Jack began to read, his expression shifted from curiosity to amazement to something approaching awe. Lily. His voice was rough with emotion. "What is this? It's my nomination," Lily announced proudly. "For you both. For the Guardian Angel Award from the Seattle Children's Hospital Foundation. Guardian Angel Award." Karen's voice was barely a whisper as she read over Jack's shoulder. Look at what I wrote." Lily pointed to a section filled with her careful 8-year-old handwriting. "I told them everything, about how you saved my life and stayed with me and visited me for 2 years, and how you found each other because you both love taking care of kids." Karen read aloud, her voice growing more emotional with each word. "Jack Davis and Karen Wilson are real guardian angels who helped me when I was scared and hurt. They didn't just save my body, they saved my heart too. They showed me that there are always good people who will protect children and make them feel safe and loved." "Keep reading," Lily urged. "Tell them about the best part." Jack continued reading. "They love each other now because loving children brought them together. They are the best team for taking care of scared kids because they understand that guardian angels work better when they love each other too." "Lily, this is incredible." Jack's voice was thick with tears he wasn't ashamed to shed. "You nominated us for an award. Not just any award." Lily's pride was evident. "The biggest award they give. And guess what? You won." "We won?" Karen's voice climbed in disbelief. "You won." Maria's voice came from behind them as she approached with a woman in a professional suit. "This is Dr. Sarah Chen from the Children's Hospital Foundation. She came to present the award personally." "Doctor." Chen stepped forward with a warm smile. "Jack Davis and Karen Wilson, it's my honor to inform you that you've been selected to receive this year's Guardian Angel Award for exceptional service to pediatric patients." "This can't be real." Jack's voice was stunned. "Oh, it's very real, Doctor." Chen's voice carried deep sincerity. "Your nomination was the most compelling we've ever received." Lily's letter was accompanied by testimonials from dozens of families you've both helped over the years. Dozens. Karen's surprise was genuine. Your individual work was already remarkable. Dr. Chen's voice grew warmer. "Jack, your community outreach program has become a model that fire departments across the state are implementing. Karen, your innovative children's programming has increased library engagement by 40% in just 6 months as head librarian." But together, Dr. Chen's smile was radiant. Together, you've created something unprecedented. A partnership between emergency services and educational support that ensures no child faces crisis alone. "What do you mean?" Jack asked gently. "The Guardian Angel Protocol." Dr. Chen's voice carried excitement. "The system you've developed where firefighters are trained in child trauma response, and children's librarians are embedded in emergency response teams for situations involving minors. We just wanted to make sure kids had emotional support during crisis situations." Karen's modesty was automatic. "You've revolutionized pediatric emergency care." Dr. Chen's admiration was evident. "Trauma rates in children who experience your integrated approach are down 60%. Recovery times are faster. PTSD incidence is dramatically reduced because they have stories and comfort along with medical care." Jack's understanding was immediate, because they have guardian angels working as a team instead of in isolation. Dr. Chen's voice carried deep respect. Lily was right. You are better together. The backyard had grown quiet as other party guests gathered to witness this unexpected ceremony. Children sat cross-legged on the grass. Adults stood in a respectful circle, and Maria wiped tears of pride from her eyes. Dr. Chen opened an elegant wooden box and withdrew 2 crystal angels, each engraved with their names and the words, "Guardian Angel Award for Extraordinary Service to Children." These awards represent more than recognition. Dr. Chen's voice carried the weight of ceremony. They represent the difference you've made in hundreds of young lives, the comfort you've brought to scared families, the hope you've restored in moments of crisis. Jack accepted his award with hands that weren't quite steady. I'm honored, but I need everyone to know. None of this would have been possible without the little girl who taught us that guardian angels work better in pairs. All eyes turned to Lily, who beamed with the pride of someone whose master plan had exceeded even her wildest expectations. Lily Martinez. Dr. Chen's voice was warm with affection. Would you like to say something about your guardian angels? Lily stood tall, her sequined dress catching the afternoon sunlight as she looked around at all the faces watching her. My guardian angels are the best guardian angels in the whole world. Lily's voice carried absolute conviction. Not because they're the bravest or the smartest, but because they love each other and they love taking care of kids. She paused, considering her words with the seriousness of someone far beyond her 8 years. Before they found each other, they were really good at their jobs, but they were also really lonely even though they didn't know it. They took care of everyone else, but nobody took care of them. The gathered crowd was completely silent, absorbed in the wisdom coming from this remarkable child. But when they found each other, everything got better, not just for them, but for all the kids they help. Because now they're not scared anymore. They're not tired anymore. They're not lonely anymore. Lily looked directly at Jack and Karen, her dark eyes bright with love and certainty. And when guardian angels aren't scared and tired and lonely, they can help more kids feel safe and loved and important. That's why God made them find each other. So all the scared kids in Seattle would have the best guardian angel team ever. The applause was immediate and sustained, but Lily wasn't finished. Plus, Lily's voice rose above the clapping. They're gonna get married next month, and I get to be the flower girl. And their babies are gonna be the luckiest babies ever because they'll have guardian angel parents. Married next month. Dr. Chen's surprise was delighted. Congratulations! Jack stood and took Karen's hand, his storm-grey eyes twinkling with mischief and love. Actually, there's something we need to discuss about that timeline. What do you mean? Karen's curiosity was immediate. Jack took a deep breath and slowly dropped to one knee, pulling a small velvet box from his jacket pocket. I can't wait another month to make this official. The backyard erupted in gasps and excited whispers as Jack opened the box to reveal a ring that caught the sunlight like captured starfire. Karen Wilson. Jack's voice was steady, despite the magnitude of the moment. 6 months ago, you were a woman celebrating a promotion alone, and I was a firefighter going through the motions of his life. Tonight, we're partners in everything that matters. Oh my gosh! Karen's voice was barely a whisper. Her hands pressed to her heart. You've made me better at everything. Jack's voice grew stronger with conviction. Better at my job, better at caring for children, better at believing in magic and destiny and the power of love to change everything. Jack, Karen's eyes were bright with tears. You've shown me that guardian angels really do work better in pairs, that taking care of each other makes us both stronger, braver, more capable of taking care of everyone else. He held up the ring, and Karen could see that it was flanked by 2 small crystals that caught the light like angel wings. Will you marry me, Karen? Will you be my partner in everything? Will you help me spend the rest of our lives making sure no child ever has to face fear alone? Yes. Karen's answer was immediate, joyful, certain. Yes, yes, 1,000 times, yes. The backyard exploded in cheers as Jack slipped the ring onto Karen's finger and stood to kiss her with all the love and promise of their shared future. But the loudest voice of all was Lily's, whooping with the satisfaction of someone whose prayers had been answered beyond her wildest dreams. I knew it. I knew you were gonna get married. I told everyone and they said I was too little to know about love. But I was right. Jack and Karen broke apart, laughing through their tears at Lily's triumphant declaration. You were absolutely right, sweetheart. Karen's voice was thick with emotion. About everything. About guardian angels working better in pairs, about love making us stronger, about all of it. Of course I was right. Lily's confidence was absolute. I'm going to be the best flower girl ever. I'm going to throw petals like angel wings and make sure everyone knows this is the most important wedding in the history of weddings. The most important wedding in the history of weddings. Jack's amusement was evident. Because it's when two guardian angels promise to take care of each other forever. Lily's explanation was matter of fact. And when guardian angels get married, all the kids they protect get extra protection because love makes guardian angels twice as strong. Maria approached with fresh tears streaming down her face. Mita, why don't you show everyone the surprise you've been working on? Oh yeah, the surprise. Lily clapped her hands with excitement. Everyone come see what I made for the wedding. She led the entire party toward the house, practically bouncing with anticipation. In the living room, she'd created another art gallery, this one even more elaborate than the hospital playroom display. The walls were covered with drawings, but these weren't just pictures of Jack and Karen. These showed their wedding, their future home, their children, their work with kids throughout Seattle. Each drawing was labeled with careful titles: Guardian Angel Wedding, Guardian Angel Family, Guardian Angel Daycare, Guardian Angel Fire Station Library. Lily had imagined and illustrated their entire future together. Sweetheart, these are incredible. Karen's voice was full of awe. How long have you been working on these? Since the day you left the hospital together. Lily's answer was immediate. I started planning your whole life because I wanted to make sure you'd be happy forever. You planned our whole life. Jack's voice carried amused amazement. Of course. Lily's tone suggested this was obvious. Someone had to. You were both too busy falling in love to think about important stuff, like where you'd live, and how many kids you'd have, and what you'd name your dog. We're getting a dog. Karen's surprise was delighted. All guardian angel families have dogs. Lily's voice carried absolute authority. Dogs can sense when kids are scared, so they help with the guardian angel work. She pointed to a drawing labeled Guardian Angel House that showed Jack, Karen, two small children, and a large golden retriever standing in front of a house with a white picket fence. See, you're going to live in Lily's neighborhood, so I can visit all the time and help train your kids to be junior guardian angels. The entire party was silent, absorbed in the comprehensive future this 8-year-old had planned for her favorite adults. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her voice soft with wonder. Lily, these drawings, they're remarkable. Have you considered a career in family counseling or social work? I'm going to be a guardian angel like Jack and Karen. Lily's response was immediate, but the kind that helps guardian angels take care of each other so they can take care of more kids. A guardian angel for guardian angels. Jack's voice was full of admiration. That's perfect, Lily. I already started. Lily's pride was evident. I made sure you two found each other. And now I'm going to make sure you stay happy forever so you can help all the scared kids in Seattle. As the party continued around them, Jack and Karen found themselves alone on the front porch, watching the Seattle sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. Karen's engagement ring caught the fading light, sending small rainbows across her yellow dress. I can't believe this is real. Karen's voice was soft with wonder. 6 months ago, I was celebrating alone, focused only on my career, convinced that love was something other people found. 6 months ago, I was going through the motions, competent but empty, carrying everyone else's fears without anyone to help carry mine. Jack's voice was equally soft, and now we're engaged guardian angels with a comprehensive life plan, courtesy of the wisest 8-year-old in Seattle. Karen's laugh was bright with joy. Now we're partners in everything that matters. Jack's voice grew serious, emotional. Karen, I need you to know. You haven't just changed my life. You've given me a life worth living. You've given me the same thing. Karen's response was immediate. You've shown me that love doesn't compete with calling, it amplifies it. That taking care of each other makes us both better at taking care of everyone else. What Lily said about guardian angels being twice as strong when they love each other, Jack's voice carried growing understanding. I think she's right. I think I've been more effective these past 6 months than in my entire previous career. Because you're not carrying the weight alone anymore. Karen's insight was gentle because you have someone who understands why the work matters, someone who shares the burden and celebrates the victories. Someone who stays up with me when I've had a difficult call, who helps me process the cases that haunt me, who reminds me that saving most people is enough even when you can't save everyone. Someone who believes in the importance of my work, who supports my programs, who sees taking care of children as a calling rather than just a job. Karen's voice was thick with gratitude. They sat in comfortable silence, both processing the magnitude of what they'd built together. The sound of children's laughter drifted from the backyard, mixed with adult conversation and the gentle clink of dinner dishes being cleared. Jack broke the silence with a question that had been growing in his mind for weeks. Karen, what do you think about what Lily said, about our children being junior guardian angels? You mean about having children who understand that protecting others is the highest calling? Karen's voice carried thoughtful consideration. Children who grow up knowing that love is action, that service is joy, that taking care of people is the most important work anyone can do. Exactly. Jack's voice was warm with possibility. Children who see guardian angel work as normal, as something families do together. I think, Karen paused, choosing her words carefully. I think Lily might be planning our family better than we could plan it ourselves. You want children? Jack's question was soft, hopeful. I want children with you. Karen's answer was immediate, certain. Children who grow up seeing their parents love each other and love their work and love the people they serve. Children who understand that being a guardian angel isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. Children who learn that protection comes in many forms. Jack's voice grew excited. Physical protection, emotional protection, educational protection, spiritual protection. Children who grow up in a house full of books and safety equipment and pictures of all the families we've helped. Karen's vision was becoming clearer. Children who take it for granted that adults risk their lives for strangers and stay late to comfort scared people. Children who think having parents who are guardian angels is completely normal. Jack's laugh was warm with anticipation. Until they get older and realize that not every family's dinner conversation involves planning community outreach programs and discussing the emotional needs of traumatized children. Karen's amusement was evident, and then they'll appreciate how special their upbringing was. Jack's voice carried quiet conviction. They'll understand that they were raised by people who believed love is action, that service is calling, that protecting others is the highest honor. The front door opened and Lily appeared, still in her sparkly dress, but now wearing Jack's firefighter helmet, which was comically large on her small head. What are you talking about? Lily asked, as she settled between them on the porch steps. We're talking about the future you planned for us. Karen's voice was gentle, affectionate, about having children and raising them to be kind and brave and caring. Of course you're gonna have kids. Lily's tone suggested this was obvious. Guardian angel families always have kids. That's how they train the next generation of guardian angels. How many children do you think we should have? Jack asked with mock seriousness. Lily considered this with the gravity of someone making an important executive decision. 2. A boy and a girl. The boy can learn fire truck stuff from Jack, and the girl can learn book stuff from Karen, but they both have to learn guardian angel stuff from both of you. And what exactly is guardian angel stuff? Karen asked gently. How to be brave when other people are scared. How to stay calm when everything is crazy. How to sing to people who are sad and tell stories to people who are worried and hug people who feel alone. Lily paused, then added with absolute certainty, but most important, how to love each other so much that taking care of other people feels easy instead of hard. That's beautiful, sweetheart. Jack's voice was rough with emotion. You're going to be an incredible guardian angel someday. I already am. Lily's confidence was matter of fact. I took care of you two for 2 years, didn't I? I made sure my guardian angels found their guardian angel partners so they could be happy and strong and help more kids. You absolutely did. Karen's voice was full of gratitude. You took better care of us than we took care of ourselves, because that's what guardian angels do. Lily's wisdom was profound. We take care of each other so everyone can be their best guardian angel selves. The porch light came on as evening settled over the neighborhood, casting a warm glow over the three of them. In the distance, they could hear Maria calling that it was time for dessert, that the celebration cake needed proper appreciation. But none of them moved. This moment felt too precious to interrupt, too perfect to rush. Lily looked up at Jack and Karen with eyes that held all the love and satisfaction of someone whose greatest wish had come true. I'm really proud of you both. Lily's voice was serious, heartfelt. You found each other like I knew you would, and you're going to get married like I hoped you would, and you're going to have babies and raise them to be guardian angels like I planned you would. Thank you, Lily. Jack's voice carried depths of gratitude. Thank you for taking care of us before we knew we needed taking care of. Thank you for seeing what we couldn't see and believing in what we were afraid to hope for. Thank you for teaching us that guardian angels work better in pairs. Karen's voice was equally grateful. Thank you for showing us that love multiplies instead of divides, that taking care of each other makes us better at taking care of everyone else. Lily stood up and carefully removed Jack's helmet, handing it back to him with ceremony. My work here is done. Lily's announcement was official, satisfied. My guardian angels found each other. They're getting married. They're going to have babies. And they're going to live happily ever after, taking care of all the scared kids in Seattle. She paused, then grinned with the mischief of someone who had one more surprise up her sleeve. But I'm going to be the best flower girl ever. And at the wedding, I'm going to tell everyone the whole story about how guardian angels find their guardian angel partners when they're ready to love each other the right way. The story of how we found each other, Karen asked gently. The story of how I found you for each other. Lily's correction was important. The story of how a little girl's prayers brought two lonely guardian angels together so they could be happy and help more kids and live in the same neighborhood as me forever and ever. As if on cue, Maria appeared in the doorway. Lily, Mija, time for cake. And Jack and Karen, everyone wants to toast the engagement. They stood to go inside, but Lily grabbed both their hands, stopping them for one final moment. Promise me something. Lily's voice was serious, important. Anything, they answered in unison. Promise me you'll remember that guardian angels who love each other are the strongest kind of guardian angels. That taking care of each other makes you better at taking care of everyone else. That love is what makes the guardian angel work possible. We promise. Jack's voice was firm, certain. We'll never forget. Karen's voice matched his certainty. Good. Lily's satisfaction was complete. Because Seattle has a lot of scared kids, and they need the best guardian angel team ever to help them feel safe and loved and important. She led them toward the house, chattering happily about cake flavors and wedding flowers and the urgent need to start shopping for the perfect flower girl dress. As they reached the door, Jack and Karen paused to look back at the porch where they'd just planned their future, where an 8-year-old had officially completed her mission of uniting her guardian angels. Ready for the rest of our lives? Jack asked softly. Ready for everything. Karen's response was immediate, joyful. Ready for marriage and children and a lifetime of being guardian angels together. Ready for the adventure Lily planned for us. The best kind of adventure. Jack's voice was warm with love and possibility. The kind where guardian angels get to live happily ever after, while making sure everyone else gets to live safely ever after too. They walked into the house together, toward cake and celebration, and the beginning of their officially engaged life. Behind them, the Seattle evening settled into comfortable darkness, full of promise and possibility and the absolute certainty that some love stories really do end with happily ever after. Especially the ones where guardian angels find their perfect partners and spend the rest of their lives proving that love, multiplied by love, equals enough strength to protect all the world's scared children. One story at a time, one rescue at a time, one moment of comfort at a time. Together. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more stories like this. Leave a like and comment below what you thought of the story. See you in the next video.